Andres, I'm late. This is what we call big sills time. What are you talking about? We're late. We're never late. This is big sills time, dog. Always remember that. We work on big sills time. And we always will. And we always start the program out with one of the legendary lines of all time. Big sills. By the way, our great conversation that we had yesterday with Xander Krauss. From now on, I want you guys to reference Xander Big Z. He may not be Big Z on Birds 365 because that's a different type of show. Because when you're here, this is a battle royale. We should have a disclaimer on this bad puppy. No snowflakes allowed. And like Prince would say, if you can't handle it, you better not be here. I'm going to tell some of you folks right now, some of you may be new viewers, this might not be the show for you. So I'm going to put a big sills disclaimer out. If you're a pansy and you're light in the britches and you can't take certain things, this might not be your home. You might want to go see Big Bill or Big Mike pretty soon. Missing Ellie back on that teacup of a radio station, 97.5. You know, the strings with the cups? That's how you hear that thing. How you doing? This is going to be, again, another program that is not going to be for the faint of heart. Okay? Stu, no pansies. Oh, by the way, I want to start this out. Hey, that idiotic Olympic committee, after the drag show open that you had for the Olympics, which made me want to throw up in an airbag, do me a favor. Try not to get a woman boxer killed. Because you want to make a political statement by having dudes beat up chicks. You know, I'm kind of confused here with some of our political parties. You want to give the right for people to have abortions to women, and yet you want to have people get the right to beat women up. I'm not getting that. So do you want to protect some of their rights, or do you want to protect all of women's rights? Or ones that are convenient to your political agenda? Try to tell me what's up here. By the way, this ain't about a party thing. This is about right and wrong. Letting a dude beat a chick up at the Olympic Games for a political stance is deadly, asinine, and not fair. It's not fair. You're going to get someone killed. Okay? You're going to get someone killed. Dude. I mean, to make a political statement, hey, you know what? Hey, I believe that women should have, and by the way, either way, whatever you believe in, it's not abortion conversation. Whatever you want to believe in. But then to turn around and allow and say, hey, I'm okay with a man beating a woman up in the Olympic Games in boxing. I don't get your stance. Cosmo, you're right. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, tonight should be pretty cool over at Lincoln Financial. I love any time the fans get an opportunity to see their team for the first time. Dude, the experience of going to an NFL stadium like that. I'm going to tell you this, too. Do you know that 97% of NFL fans have never been to a stadium like that or been to a ball game? I got that number from Pepsi years ago. NFL fans don't traditionally have the money to go to games. So that's a pretty cool environment. You get a chance to go with your family. It's $10. You know, you get a chance to see your favorite players. Most of them won't be in, you know, they'll get some reps. Then again, it's a controlled environment. It's a scrimmage. You want to hear something crazy? You'll see your stars on the field more tonight than you will in the exhibition games. Did you think about that, Xander? Tonight, you're going to see Jalen Hurts practicing more than you'll see him in a game at any time. Baltimore Ravens for $10. For $10. Yeah, flexing goes on. Yeah, $10 though. I'm not spending a full ticket price to go to an exhibition game. That's not going to happen. No way. Please, by the way, you guys have been sensational. Please hit the like button. 300 plus likes the last 2 days. On fire. On fire. I got to tell you something, too, before we get going. You and I may not agree on everything. And I heard somebody say that earlier. Hey, Sills is wrong on everything, but I love him. That's awesome. That's all we want from you. That's all really I do. You don't have to agree with me 100%. You don't have to agree with me 50% of the time. I listen to what you say. Hey, you see all this stuff I have? Look at this. You got pages of shit. Pages. You're my content. You're my content. You're the best content. That's a fact. You're the content. Anybody who doesn't say that doesn't get what this is. You know, I learned a new lesson. Terrestrial radio is dead. And I hate to say that because I was reared on it. And I was in it for 27 years. I'll never go back to that. I could never do a show on radio. It'd be hacked up. It'd be cookie cutter. And you know what I would be doing? Giving content to people that don't want to hear the content that I want to give. You know, 90% of the people that talk on the radio, they tell you shit you don't care about. If you do that here, you leave. Click out. You know how hard it is for you? Think about what you have to do on the radio. You just click it on and there's Big Sills. In this, you have to do this. I got to motivate you to go to your computer every day, 2 to 6 Eastern time. I have to have you Google JAKIB Sports. Then I have to have you click and wait and watch. You know how many steps people don't want to do with that? Radio, you used to just click it on. And there you'd be. That's how motivated people are today to come here and talk with us. Why wouldn't I respect you guys? That's why, again, hey, I may talk shit to you and you may talk shit to me. End of the day, this show doesn't exist without you. Okay? This stuff doesn't exist without you. Jason says, again, this show talks about everything. We legitimately talk about front office drama. It all matters. I need Xander to show up in a ski mask today. We don't care about your shit talk, Sills. Flex and I got it. You don't care about too much of anything. Computer sitting in my work truck with my smartphone. Got to stay out of the heat. Bleed green. Holy shit. Dude. That's awesome. This guy's watching me sitting in his truck. Where are you, Bleed Green? Philly? Bleed Green is sitting in his truck. He's in his work truck with his smartphone. He's staying out of the heat. Bro, where are you, man? Are you in Philly? Delaware? Dude, thank you. You're my audience. Dude, blue collar workers, man. I was raised by blue collar people. Okay? I was raised by blue collar folks like you. I think I'm getting too mushy. I might have to move on. It's just getting a little too, I don't know, a little too weird for me. Bears and Texans tonight. How about this, man? We got a football game tonight. How you doing? Dude, I'm excited. Football's here. Look, the exhibition season sucks, but still, we got football here, man. Plus, Jason Cole will join us at 4:30. Pro Football Hall of Famers are going to be on display tonight. 2 Hurricanes, so I kind of have a little bit of an eyeball on this thing tonight because I help recruit Devin Hester and Andre Johnson to the U. So anytime we got the U rolling, Big Sills is up and watching that thing. Plus, Jason Cole will tell us, Eli Manning, he'll be on the 2025 first-year eligible ballot. Is he a true Hall of Famer? Isn't it crazy? Football is here. Same, Sills. I listen and watch your show while I do my route. Makes me forget about my road rage. Thank you, Cosmo. That's great, man. You guys watch me from your car. That's freaking insane. Sometimes I don't get a true understanding of where people now are watching me now. You can have YouTube in your car. You can watch it on your tablet. You can have me on your television. I've seen people send me over on my Twitter page. By the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, please do. It's that Dan Sileo show, so I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 20,000 followers on my Twitter page. I think I'm hanging at around 15.5 or 15.7. I don't know where I'm at right now, but we get a ton of people checking in. So the impressions are insane. I get like 13 million impressions because I block everybody. I used to block everybody. You hear about Jason Kelce offered a job inside the Eagle front office? That doesn't shock me. Did you hear that Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce won $100 million for the New Heights podcast? How you doing? How are you doing? All right. We're going to take a look at some stuff here. The Big Sills takeaways on your coaches, the two new coordinators and the head coach. A concern that I have. Also, we're going to go camping with Green Bay, San Francisco, and Detroit. Do you guys agree? Green Bay, San Francisco, and Detroit. Who else would you put in that? And by the way, if you put someone else in that threesome and you want to add another team, we'll do that tomorrow. But in your opinion, aren't those the three teams that the Eagles are going to have to try to fight for the NFC Championship? I don't believe the Cowboys are in that conversation. I think the Rams are better than the Cowboys. Right? Are those your biggest threats? Thank you, Jack. Packers, Niners, and Lions. Right? Who else would be your biggest threat? Sills, would you be surprised if Kelce takes over Jeff Stoutland's job when Stoutland retires? Cosmo, I think, no disrespect to the job of being an offensive line coach, I think Jason Kelce has so many opportunities in his life to make so much money for his family, even outside of what he did as a professional football player. I think being an offensive lineman limits his ability. He's a great personality. He's going to make gobs of money, whatever profession he wants. He's on the Monday Night Football pregame show. He can do pretty much anything he wants. His podcast is going to go through the roof when it comes to the economics of it. I mean, he can pretty much do anything. Now, being an offensive line coach, and again, I'm not limiting that. Those guys make great money. But he probably makes more money right now than Jeff Stoutland outside of football. So is it about money with Kelce? Probably not. Would he have more enjoyment coaching O-linemen? Probably. But again, you have to always look at economics. You may like working at 7-Eleven, and no disrespect to anybody that does. But if somebody offered you a job at Neiman Marcus for triple the money, you're going to take that job, whether you like it or not. You're not going to sit there at 7-Eleven just because you like greeting people. Sills, you're my guy, but Xander put it to you last night. Xander didn't do dick. Even though you weren't wrong on what you said, just missing what Xander was saying, because instead of really looking at the big picture, Ace, he didn't win shit. He thinks he did. He's an Eagle homer, which he should be. Okay? He's a Jalen. Hey, he is a Jalen Kaepernick fan. And he should be. He should be a Jalen Kaepernick fan. W, baby. Let's go, boys. That's what he's saying. He's rallying its troops. He thinks he took the W. He didn't take the W. You know why? Because he's debating Hurts. That's why. He's debating Hurts. And anytime that's your guy, you lose. Hey, I do want to say this, though, because he did say something on Birds 365 that I agree with. On Jalen. Jalen Hurts got the 15th ranking on that top 100. Hey, lister for assholes. The player list, I wish more professional leagues did this. What do the players think? How do the players look at you? What do the players think of you as, like, a person? What do they think of you as, like, you know, your work ethic? What do your teammates think of you? I think it's a big deal. I do. Got a lot of respect in the league. Dude, you can't quantify someone having respect for you. That's not just something you just pass over. When someone respects you from another ball team, especially in that league, it's a good thing. It actually is pretty impressive that they respect him so much. I love that. They respect his journey. They respect his ability. They respect him. They like him. You know what that means? It's somebody you want to play with. How many people you see in the league that are quarterbacks that no one wants to play with? Nobody wants to play with Aaron Rodgers. You know, the only way you play with Aaron Rodgers is because of his gifts and his talents. That goes away, nobody is going to play with Aaron Rodgers. Guy's a dick. Everyone wanted to play with Brady. Was Brady more gifted than Mahomes or Manning or Rodgers? Maybe even Breeze? No. But they wanted to play with him. And they would take pay cuts to play with him. Think about what Tom Brady did versus everyone else. You took pay cuts to play in New England back in the day. Okay? It took pay cuts to go play in New England because they wanted to play with Tom Brady that much. That's the kind of shit Jalen has a little bit of. They want to play with the kid. It's a good thing, man. Sills, you sound like a guy who would rather lose with a traditional style quarterback than win with a traditional style RPO guy. The NCAA does not produce pocket passers anymore. Embrace the change. Hey, Bob, no. What I'm doing is I'm going with the criteria that the quarterbacks in the NFL right now that win those games until someone proves otherwise. You've been trying to roll out RPO quarterbacks for the last 100 years in college football, and it hasn't resulted in one Super Bowl win. You've had a couple guys get there like Kaepernick. Actually, you've had two guys. Wilson was a better passer than anything Hurts was ever. A different NFL then, too. Plus, you had Marshawn Lynch. And when they took Lynch away, Russell Wilson was just Russell Wilson. He's never been the same. You're going to win with people from the pocket. You think Jared Goff is a top-flight quarterback? Why would you pay Jared Goff $50 million? Why would you? You think he's the athlete Jalen is? No. You think he's the athlete that Lamar Jackson is? No. You think he's even an athlete that Kyler Murray is? No. He just wins. And that's traditional how you build your team. Wide receivers. And I will say this about Hurts. That's different. Here's one thing that he does completely different and better than Lamar. He's a better passer. He is by far a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Okay? And that's his separation from them. Lamar is spectacular at everything. But Jalen's a better passer. He's not the runner he is. But both guys have to rely on their wheels to win games. And when you don't rely on your wheels, you won't win games. That shows you how prolific those other guys are. They don't use their wheels to win games. All from the pocket. They don't have a full tool chest. But yet they get paid and they win. You're going to say, well, Jalen wins. Okay. He does. But like Emmanuel Acho said, you're going to win a lot of games, but you ain't going to win the right games. We'll see. Again, this year, 24, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I think everything's trending in the right direction for him to have a really good year. I am not so – look, I don't think there's a high ceiling. There never has been. Those guys don't last long. And even when Steve Young was a mobile guy, okay, even with him being a mobile guy, he ended his career because of concussions. Stroud, best pocket quarterback. Maybe Aaron Rodgers. Man, Stroud just rolls, but he also rolls in the perimeter. The way he rolls out and the way he moves around in the pocket, he's absolutely shocked me on his skill set. He absolutely shocked me on how good and fundamentally sound. That Bobby Slowick did a hell of a job down there with him a year ago, and I see why he was a major contender to get an NFL job. Vic had a long career. Vic won nothing. What did Michael Vick? Michael Vick. Here. That's a great take by Akbar. Nobody would ever look at that and go, "Wow, Jalen Hurts is more electric than Vic." He's not. What did Vic win? He's not a better player than Vic. He's not. Vic never had the talent around him like that. It was all Vic. You think Vic had top flight wideouts like those two dudes? $100 million offensive line? Hell no. It was all Vic. Top flight wide receivers in Carolina was Steve Smith. Had a good tight end down there. Greg Olsen. Good running game. Nothing like this. Had good old line too. Carolina had a good old line around Cam Newton back in the day. Golf is a perfect example needed to move to a team, put a system that worked for him. Golf had a better coach in LA. Hey, but what's the one thing that has been consistent with Jared Goff, Bob? He's won with great coaches. Brian Johnson and also with Sean McVay. He's led two different teams to two NFC championship games. Jared Goff's a good football player. He's a better player than Goff. But get this, that list that came out, are you really trying to tell me you think that Dak Prescott's a better player than Jared Goff? Where in the world, in the amount of time, haven't those two guys been in the league pretty much the same time? I mean, am I right when I say that? Goff and Dak have been in the league probably the same. What has Dak Prescott done where people would look around the league? That shows you how flawed that list is. Would you really say that Dak Prescott's a better player than Jared Goff? What's he done? He's went to a Super Bowl. He's taken two teams to NFC titles. He's thrown for 4,000 yards. Show me where Dak's better. What has Dak done one thing better? He's had two number one offenses in the NFL under Kellen Moore. They were the same draft, Mike. Who in their right mind would say Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Jared Goff? Name me one thing that he's done better. And I'm not a Jared Goff fan. I'm not a golf fan. I'm not. But you can't name me one thing that he's done. By the way, one guy stayed on one team. How about this? And he went to a city that Matt Stafford couldn't do shit with. And Matt Stafford had Megatron. What are we talking about here? He had Megatron and Reggie Bush. What exactly are you talking about? I love that argument. Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. Where? Sills, Hurts may not be a pure passer, but even you said they need to utilize his skill set. And even though he has issues reading defenses, went to the Super Bowl. So did Colin Kaepernick. He couldn't read a defense to save his life. He couldn't read a defense either. You got to stay in that skill set. Once again, Ace, the further you move away from 22, I don't think you get there. If you stayed in that, hey, when you paid for a $50 million quarterback after the 22 season, it made sense. After the 23 season, it made no sense. It made no sense. Made no sense. Philly goes golf as a choker. At least he gets the NFC title games and Super Bowls. Like your guy. Vic had a great O-line. Machine and Jackson out wide. Shady at running back in Philly. Not too shabby. Two different teams, two different scenarios. Colin Kaepernick had talent on those 49er teams. Jalen Hurts has talent on the Eagle teams. Vic flourishing with Andy, maybe Kellen can help Jalen become a more complete quarterback. That's a great statement. I like that. Let me put that up there, Twiz. You're right. Vic said he wished he had learned more early and had a guy like Andy Reid. I think that was a shot at Dan Reeves. in my opinion. Vic should be in the Hall of Fame. For what? For being on the cover of Madden? For what? Michael Vick should not be in. He's not a Hall of Fame player. Absolutely not. Let's not diminish what the HOF is by putting really talented guys in the Hall of Fame that don't deserve it. He doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. McNabb's a better quarterback than Vick. Donovan McNabb's a better quarterback. Like, you know what my take is on McNabb? Okay? I mean, change the game to what? Never won. Change the game to what? Oh, I see. Okay. Change the game. So winning doesn't matter, but winning only matters to Jalen. But it doesn't matter to Vic. Okay. Kaepernick was a bum. Kaepernick got to a Super Bowl. That bum took that team to a Super Bowl. Okay. McNabb, Hall of Fame? No. But close. Vic got to Andy too late. He sure did. If Vic was with Andy before, he would have become a better passer. You see what Andy learned from McNabb, Vic, Alex Smith. He's passed it on to Mahomes. Very true. Randall Cunningham was better. Randall Cunningham was 10 times the quarterback Michael Vick was. I mean, some of you are too young. Come on, man. Who in their right mind would say that Michael Vick was a better player than Randall Cunningham? You're out of your minds. I played against Randall. Never happened. If Randall had any kind of organization offensively around him, he would be in Canton. You want to know about a guy who was a legendary athlete? It's Randall Cunningham. I mean, damn, was he special. Randall Cunningham was Patrick Mahomes, unfortunately, in the 80s. Okay? That's what Mahomes would have looked like in the 80s and the early 90s. He's Patrick Mahomes. He just didn't have good coaching around him. He was clearly, like Suplex says, Cunningham was the complete weapon. Run, hurdle, pass, had a gun, tough, eccentric, yes. But I'll live with all that over those other intangibles. He was a beast. You know, if someone told me, Sills, would you take Randall Cunningham over Phil Simms? Phil's my friend, been on the program 1,000 times. I'd say, yeah. Sills, would you take him over Eli Manning? Yeah. Would you take him over Cam Newton? Yeah. Yeah. Sills, would you say Cam was the best college player? No. No. Best college football player of all time is Herschel Walker. Herschel's the greatest college football player that's ever lived. He's the only guy that could have went from high school to the NFL. Just nobody like Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker is the greatest athlete I've ever played with. Just nothing like him. Stop arguing with dumbass comments. Vic wasn't all that. Vic was exciting to watch. He was. All right, let me get to my big, hey, Master, very nice. He was on the first team All-American team as a punter, not the quarterback. He led the nation in punting at UNLV. This guy could do anything, man. His daughter, by the way, I think is in the Olympics. I mean, even his kids are good. That's how good an athlete he is. Even his kids are good athletes. Bo's right there. So is Dion. No question. Sills, I'm heading to Cowboys. Maybe trading. I'm hearing that the Cowboys may be trading to Marcus Lawrence. then if they do that, it's a clear sign of it being a clearinghouse. Okay? It's a clearinghouse. By the way, guys, please hit the like button. Thank you, guys. All right. I'm going to start here before we go camping. And we talk a little bit about the opening exhibition game against the Ravens, talking little Ravens ball. But I want to talk about my takeaways and go more into the details of what I've seen with your head coach and your two new coordinators. Guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's start it with Nick. Big Sills takeaways for the first week of the coaching staff as they get in front of the fans tonight at Lincoln Financial. Nick's been out of the way. He's actually been saying and doing the right thing. I'll put it out here to you. I think this is the best that Nick Sirianni has looked behind a microphone in 3 years. It's early. We still have to wait to see adversity. But I got to tell you, Nick's been out of the way. He's trying to learn this new role. He's trying to understand the new role. He's trying not to be overbearing. Do you know how many people are overbearing? And he's one of them. I think he's doing a nice job, man. You know me, I hate the guy, but I think he's doing okay. I love how people hear rumors about the Cowboys. Cowboys aren't trading Lawrence. We are thin at defensive end with Sam Williams, tearing his ACL. Yeah, they're not moving him. Yeah, I think the one thing that Nick is doing very well right now, he's doing the political angling, and he's doing everything what they've asked him to do. They defined a role for him, and he's following along the game plan. That's all you can ask for Nick Sirianni. Now, again, we'll find out when adversity hits. Okay? The main thing I want to see for more, if he could teach Jalen how to read a defense, hopefully, well, he's not going to be teaching him anything. Okay? He's not. He's getting more comfortable behind the mic. It seems that way. It does. It seems that way. He can get coffee. Well, that's where I'm at with him too, Tony. But Tony, he's here. Don't fuck it up. You know? Whether you like him or not. See, that's the one thing that you guys have to understand about how I even talk about Jalen Hurts. Whether or not I like Jalen Hurts or not is not the point anymore. He's in the building. He's your quarterback. We move forward for that. Do I have a built-in angst, not liking that style and don't think there's a high ceiling? Yeah, I have that built in. That's why this is an opinion show. This isn't an analyst show. This isn't coming from some sort of pseudo half-assed journalist. Okay? This is what I see, what I've experienced. We're going to talk about Huff here in a minute. So I'm actually liking this stuff. There's not really a lot to... Hey, can I tell you this? Of all the guys I'm going to talk about here with your new coaches and with Nick, he's the least I have written down. That's a great thing. Nick's actually been seen and not heard. Hey, you guys can call him the Joe Schoen of head coaches. You guys can say all that. You're not wrong. But so far, he really hasn't been seen outside of those press conferences tonight. I guess he's talking in after or before the practice tonight. Great. I can't wait to hear what he's going to say. Let's go to Kellen Moore now. As we said yesterday, this dude's giving this offense a facelift. And that could result in the resurrecting of Barkley's career to where expectations that he never met in New York could be reached in Philly. Many of you said, He never really had the talent, Sills, in New York. Well, all that's true. But what's also true on his side, he never lived up to the second round, or excuse me, the second pick in the draft either. You may say all those things about him. You're not wrong. But the second pick in the draft, when I look at Barkley and then I look at a second rounder and Derrick Henry, night and day. Derrick Henry overachieved. Barkley underachieved. Lesser talent. Well, I wouldn't say Tennessee's been a plethora of massively great players. Okay? Jason, thank you. West Palm Beach, way to go, man. Broward County, baby. Or Palm Beach County. So I think the Eagles going to make a move for an edge rusher in the next 2 weeks. They could. They could. Derrick Henry should have been a first rounder. Derrick Henry should have been a top 5 pick. Barkley was a second pick. Henry was a second rounder. How? It's like going Thurman Thomas was a second rounder. You're like, how'd that work? Terrell Davis was like a 6th rounder. Shit like that happens. Incredible. I say this, the key is not in this offense that Kellen Moore is giving a facelift to. Dude, the key is not AJ and Devontae getting the numbers. That resulted in that last year and it got you shit. The people that need to get their numbers are the other guys. You need to get the other guys' numbers. Tight end, WR3, backs catching footballs. That's when you're going to play championship football. When Keith Byers said that the Eagles never played championship football from Thanksgiving Day on, that's exactly what he meant. It's funny, all your receivers got contract extensions, and your football team stunk at the back end of the season. How'd you get contract extensions when you guys stunk as a unit? So, Kellen's come in. It can't just be about Devontae and AJ making and getting their numbers. It's got to be a balanced attack. It's got to be more of a fluid attack. It's got to be more what Grant Calcaterra said. It's got to be a motion offense and everybody is a target. And everybody's going to get an opportunity. I mean, there's a great point right there. Professor, who's wide receiver 3 going to be? He may not even be on the ball club yet. Okay? May not even be on the ball club. Johnny Wilson has been looking good in the red zone. Okay, well, that's not going to help wide receiver 3. Okay? And again, what I love of what Kellen Moore's doing a little more of too, putting people in the slot, could be Devontae, could be AJ. There's no question. The motion looks good so far. It's like I said, it's the others. And the motion offense that we've seen in the first week in concept looks good. This is conceptual right now. In September and the fall, you're going to apply all the things that you've implemented, installed, your draft picks, your free agents, the techniques and schemes, changing of attitude, direction, practice habits. This is all stuff that's going to result in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The guy I wrote the most about was Vic Fangio. Scheme will not be the issue. This is Big Sills Takeaways first week as we head into the fan night, I'll call it, at Lincoln Financial tonight, where you get to see your football team. The scheme's not going to be the issue on why you don't play well. There's going to be a fundamental scheme that you're going to have, and you're going to play inside of those guardrails. And those are the guardrails that Nick or Vic thinks that you need to win Super Bowls and for you to win NFC East titles. You're going to play with multiple fronts. The best players are going to play. Here's something else. Tell me if you're getting this sense. It's too early for me even. It's too early for me to say this, but I felt this morning. It's August 1st. And do you know what my takeaway is with Vic being installed as your defensive coordinator? Why am I getting the feeling that the foundation of the defense is going to be Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell? It just seems those are the names that I'm hearing every day. I'm not hearing anybody else. Those two names are popping up every day. Quinyon Mitchell's doing this. Quinyon Mitchell's doing that. Step for step versus AJ. Back and forth. Jalen Carter's throwing Micaiah Becton on his head. This guy's moving around. That's how you build fundamental and foundational players. Tony Dungy said something to me years ago. He goes, when we knew we had foundation pieces. And I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, we drafted John Lynch, Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Rondé Barber, Mike Allstott, and we had work done. All those players were our foundational pieces. The rest of the guys were going to be other dudes, free agents, not quite the talent like a Brad Culpepper or a Simeon Rice, who was very good. They acquired him from Arizona. But there was always like foundational pieces that you have to be a championship team. Look at New England, the foundational pieces. Gronk, Brady, the defense, Wolfwork, Richard Seymour, Teddy Bruschi, guys in the O-line, the left tackle, who was there forever. They had foundational pieces. Kansas City, Chris Jones, Mahomes, the center. Now you're getting Trent McDuffie. You're starting to build foundational pieces. Okay? It's good. But I got the guys I'm hearing and are benefiting under Vic so far have been Quinyon Mitchell and Jalen Carter. And get this, maybe Jordan Davis joins that group with the nose tackle position now that he's going to be playing. Maybe he joins in there. Can you imagine here? Davis comes through. Carter comes through. Mitchell comes through. I mean, if you're Howie, that's a grand slam. Because all three of those guys, if they play up to their physical skill set, could be on the All-Pro team, not Pro Bowl team. Sills, Howie's sitting on over $25 million. I think it's actually 27.7 in cap. There's talk that Tennessee's looking to rebuild. I know, Jeffrey Simmons. I know, but he's going to cost you. He's going to cost you at least a 2 and a 5 and at least $20 million in a 3-year contract. Would they pay that? Get this. Jeffrey Simmons, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis inside in the middle. Eagles win the Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl move. That's a Super Bowl. By the way, Jeffrey Simmons is better than anything you have. Now, Carter's upside could be in that room. But as a legitimate Pro Bowl, all pro player every year, which he is. He's at that point right now. And I believe he's 26. That guy is the best interior defensive tackle in the game. I mean, he's quite a football player. I'm watching from a gym in New York City after teaching a kickbox class with no air conditioning. I never missed the show. Hey, Kimberly, thank you. Really cool. Hey, New York Athletic Club? Kimberly, is that where you are? The three would wreck shop, Sills. No O-line would be able to contain. No, agreed. No, Johnny Cage. I did not say you were winning the Super Bowl. I said you had Justin Simmons. You had that guy or Jeffrey Simmons to the mix. You're winning it. Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, not quite. Chris Jones is a good football player though, but I would still say that Justin Simmons is still no. I don't know, maybe not quite because that play that Jones made in the Super Bowl against the Niners was so huge. So huge. Dude, you get the I don't know. Hey, that's a good point, Ben. I don't know if the Titans want to do business when every time they see that Philly exchange number popping up and they see that 615 and they go like this. You think that's that dick Howie Roseman? You know, who do you think he's calling for? He's calling for Simmons. Watch this. Every time people see that 615, they go, here's Howie again. Holy shit. Like the guys in D.C. were probably going like this. Oh, God, here's this guy again. What the hell's going on? 615. Oh, great. Here's Roseman. He wants Simmons. Okay, let's ask for 2 1s. I'm not giving you 2 1s. You know better than that. Brian Burns didn't get 2 1s. He got a 2 and a 5. That's all you're getting. 2 and a 5. That's it. Right? 2 and 5. Thank you. Hey, a 2 and a 5. That's all you're getting, guy. 2 and a 5. 100 likes. Wow. Not even before the first hour ended. Like it. Let's see here. Let me go on here. I'm going to leave this one out. But so far with these 3 guys, good. 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 I have to get to this. Here it is. Before I get and we go around the camps, they call that the Big Z effect. Who's Big Z? I forget. The Big Zit? Oh, yeah, the Big Zit's on at 3:30. Be at the always remember who runs the controls of the network. Hey, it's like having a choke collar on, and he's got the app that kind of like, zaps your ass. Bang. Very good. Very nice. Very good. Hit the like button, my friends. Okay. So Big Sills has to bring everyone back to reality again, including Big Z and Big John McMullen. This guy's going to be a sensational ball player. Okay. Help me out on something. How many sacks again do you guys believe Bryce Huff is going to have this year? I want to put this in cement, and I want to keep this in perpetuity so that we have it. where you guys say how many sacks Bryce Huff. By the way, this kind of reminds me a little bit of our Rashad Penny shit that we had last year, where you guys were all just absolute nimrods over the guy. You know what's really sad, though? The guy has like a 5.7 yards per carry. I think that's what it was. This is really sad if you think about it. 5.6 yards per carry, and he's got to retire because he can't stay healthy. It's got to be one of the biggest yards per carry running back in NFL history. What a shame. 10, 9. I say 8. Shit, man. 5? Hey, hold on here. 11 and a half? You guys better get that number up. You guys better get that number up. So far, they ain't a win. 7.5, 1 interception, 60 tackles. Never happened. This guy's never had over 19 tackles. 2.5. Hang on here. Him and Sweat are going to go crazy with Jalen in the middle. 8.5. That ain't cutting it. Wow. That's your $51 million guy? 5 sacks? Ben, 10 plus. Sills, as an every down player, 10 to 12. If he's not a 3 down, he needs 15 to justify the money. That's pretty right. I think that's what Xander was saying this morning. This thing here, where is that? There it is. Right there. Right. If he can't set the edge, John McMullen was right. That was always, hey, what was my big bitch about Hassan? Limited on tackling and limited on covering. But he was still better than this guy. Let me show you something here. And please, follow along here with me. Why did they sign Huff? And what did they actually sign Bryce Huff to do? What's his role? When you pay that kind of money, $51 million, I'm assuming you have an understanding of what the role is, right? Or are you just going to gratuitously just throw money out? Why did you sign him? What do you think he's going to do for you? Guy had 480 snaps and 10 sacks. Let me get this. Do me a favor, guys. How old is Bryce Huff? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Hassan Reddick turns 30 this year, or he's 29. How old is, I didn't look this up for the show. How old is Bryce Huff? How old? Guys, please, he's 26. Okay. Huff's 26. Reddick's 29. Gonna turn 30. Is that right? Sound right? He's a starter. But we can't come back to the conditioning point. Huff will get his sacks and pressures. Let's trust. Alejandro, I'm going to go with what I've seen over the careers of NFL players, and I know what it takes to get sacks like that. You've got to have massive amount of reps. He's 30. Okay. You tell me then, Robert Saleh, who built the San Francisco 49ers defense, many of the players that are on that football team, he's got an eye for defense. Look at the defense that he's building in New York with the Jets even. We would all say this. I don't know if Robert Saleh is a good head football coach. But the one thing that I will say about Robert Saleh, he knows how to build a defense. Like when he gets fired in New York, if they don't win X amount of games, Robert Saleh is going to have he'll have a head position as a defensive coordinator in the NFL somewhere. Somebody will hire him. That guy knows talent. He knows talent. Why would you allow a 26-year-old player, you never offered him a contract, to walk out the door if he's so electric like John McMullen's saying. And then turn around and hire an older guy who does the same skill set and actually make a trade for him. Just explain that one to me. Why would they do that? A 26-year-old edge rusher who John says is off the charts. Why would a guy who's an experienced coordinator like that? That's not just a Jets move. Robert Saleh's handpicking the defensive. He handpicked Sauce Gardner. I mean, why would he allow a guy like that to walk out the building, make a trade with the Eagles, and actually give up draft picks for Huff or for Reddick? If that guy's so good, I'm not saying he's not. I'm asking a question, the same question that I asked about Hassan Reddick. Why is this guy on 4 teams in 5 years or 6 years? He's on 4 teams in 6 years. That seemed peculiar. If this guy's such an elite pass rusher, Arizona quit on him, Carolina quit on him, the Eagles let him walk out the building. Now he's on the Jets. 4 teams in 6 years. I've said the same shit. You know why? They're limited players. But Reddick's better. Or wait, Reddick is proven. This guy's not. You went with the lesser proven dude. Character? I don't buy that. Guy wants to get his money. Nothing wrong with wanting to get his money. That is what Fangio said, his weakness right now. God, even your defensive coordinator's talking shit on him. So here's the people talking shit on Hassan Reddick. And the only person not talking shit on Hassan Reddick's Howie Roseman. Your D coordinator talks shit on him. Robert Saleh talks shit on him. Joe Douglas talks shit on him. The only guy that's not talking shit on him is Howie Roseman and John McMullen. Find that weird? John may be right in the end. He may be right in the end. Right? I mean, you tell me. Huff has the same job as Nick. Gas checks. Reddick has been underpaid the last 5 seasons. Make the point to that. Sills, the Jets let Huff walk because he's a one-trick pony. That is not an every down player. Huff's money went to the other side of the ball. And the side of the ball that they need to address the most wasn't the offense. That's why you're top heavy, Bob. And you're not a balanced roster. The Eagles don't have a balanced roster. You can punch holes in every single side of the ball and every level on the defense. Well, here. Will Jordan Davis play better, be in condition? Do you have enough depth at edge? Do you have enough depth at DT? Your linebacking core is the worst in the league. Your corner one is old. Your backup corner is older. And everyone else in the secondary is inexperienced. And you thought all your contract movement would be at the guard position for Landon. 2 wide receivers got contract extensions. I mean, and you signed a $10 million running back. I didn't know the offense, which was 8th a year ago, was the problem. You had a 31st ranked defense, and you thought you'd address it by hiring shitty linebackers and by drafting. Okay, the drafting part, you can't say anything on August 1st about it. You can't. How is a guy like Reddick that good and get bounced around so much? Because Akbar in today's NFL, as much as we don't like Micah Parsons, what's the thing that Micah Parsons does? He plays the run enough, well enough. He covers tight ends well, and he's very good at it, actually. And he rushes the passer. Here's what Reddick does. He rushes the passer. Here's what Huff does. He rushes the passer at a limited role. Why can't people talk like that? They think because they're going to give him more reps, he's going to have more sacks. That's not the case. Let me ask you something. You gave Josh Sweat, and I heard Xander and those guys talking about it. You gave Josh Sweat more reps last year. What happened? His production fell off. You actually think that you're going to give Bryce Huff more reps and his production is going to go up? Where's that fundamentally sound anywhere? You gave James Bradbury 1,051 reps, seasoned pros, and his production went down. But Huff's is going to go up. Okay. How's that possible? You increased the production of Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis last year because he started. His production fell off last year at the tail end of the season. But Huff's is going to go up. Really? Okay. That'll be a new one. Why do you think that Fletcher Cox played so well the last 2 years? You know why? There was depth. Gave him a spell. He had more productive reps. Remember how he was gassed? What was it, the Titans game or the Steeler game? He was gassed. Then they brought in Sue and Linval Joseph. He had a great second half of the season. He carried over into 23. You could make the argument the best defensive lineman and the best guy that played in the front seven all last year was Fletcher Cox. Was Fletcher Cox. Roland goes, who plays 3 downs? TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Nick Bosa, Von Miller, Khalil Mack, Micah Parsons, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. Shall I go on? I mean, I could go on all day if you want. Aiden Hutchinson, nicely done there, Yager. Aiden Hutchinson. He's a 3-down guy. Because that meant the other side of the ball, the Jets ball, that money went to the tools for Aaron. Okay. Huff went from a UDFA to $51 million. New York is betting they'll find another high motor guy. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sills boy, Justin Herbert already has an injury. Loves injury-prone quarterbacks. Yeah, you're right. I love injury-prone quarterbacks. No, I like talented quarterbacks. I like Sweat, Huff, and Smith as my edge. Well, you're in trouble with that. One guy's proven. The rest of them have never played substantial downs. You like that? Wow. I'm running at those 2 dudes all day. Huff and Nolan Smith, we'll find out what kind of metal you got, kid. Hopefully you put some bricks in your pocket because you ain't a big dude. Dan, what do you have on tap behind you? I see a beer. Oh, it's Michelob, my friend. That's a Michelob. How you doing? Marv goes, what kind of hate you throwing today? No, I'm asking you about your boy, who has been like Casper the Ghost so far in camp. I'm going to start calling Bryce Huff Cream Puff. Hey, I'm not going to go there yet. It's only August 1st. But give me some time. Hey, Cream Puff is on the horizon. Okay? Cream Puff. A dude better show up. And I agree with Bob. That guy's got to get you between 12 to 15 sacks this year for that deal to make it sound like it's worthy. Or other than that, his new name is going to be Cream Puff. Cream Huff Puff. You know them puff things, man? Those cheese puffs. Oh, man. Those big old cheese puffs. That's what Bryce Huff is, a cream puff. He's a little bigger than Dean. Oh, wow, that's comforting. Your kicker's bigger than Dean. Kidding me, man. So why did they sign him to $51 million? What exactly is Cream Huff going to be for you? I love it. Another 1 year wonder that's gets paid by us. And you know what? If he turns in 15 sacks, man, I'll tell you what, John McMullen's going to look like a superstar, but I ain't seeing it. Dude, the Jets just said, get the hell out of town. And I have always said the same. Hey, as much as Reddick, and by the way, I don't want to sit here touting Reddick as some sort of superstar guy because he's one-dimensional. But at least the one dimension he did, this guy got you 30 sacks in 2 years counting the playoffs. Substantial. This guy was the NFC Championship game MVP. That's substantial. If you were handing out an NFC MVP award, he'd have won it. He would have won it. I mean, that guy was like Conan the Barbarian in that game. He was. What if he actually reaches 12 sacks as a full-time starter? That would be amazing. And that Howie would get a guy like that at, 17-8 would be a steal. If he plays 800 snaps and gets you 12 sacks, that's a steal. That's what he's hoping for. That he can play 800 plays and snaps and get you 12 sacks. That is everything that they're hoping for. But as of right now, Vic says he can't do it. That's your own coordinator's words. I thought Huff was like 6'3". I thought maybe Reddick was shorter. Yeah, 20 sacks. Yeah, 1,500 yards for Rashad Penny last year. I remember that one, too. That was classic. I don't even think they took the car out of the barn last year. I forget. Don't hate on Huff. Dang, congratulate him for getting a good deal. No. Like I said this before to you, my friend. Ray, it's like a guy walking into a bank telling everybody, hey, this is a stick-up, and you don't have a gun. And the guy still gives you the money, and you walk out the door with no mask. Okay? No mask and no gun. You held the guy up with no mask and a gun. Hey, this is a holdup. And the tellers give you the money, and you didn't need a gun or a mask. This is a holdup. Here's the money. Thank you. See you later. I'm going to Galveston. I'm going to Galveston. They did for, let's see. The majority of our sacks will come from the interior. Then why pay $51 million? Sills, it's not just the sack total. Huff needs to get home in big games. Padding stats on the New York Giants. Yeah, Reddick got home in big games. Huff needs to show up big. Hey, Bob, the year in 22 that he had more hits on quarterbacks on third downs, more caused fumbles. He was a wrecking machine. You could have made the argument He was in the top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year in 22, and he was a Defensive Player of the Game in the NFC title game. That's a fucking insane year. And for you guys to come up with some sort of bullshit why you think he's too old to leave, and his time as an Eagle, he was sensational as a pass rusher. Sensational. Sensational. 17 sacks and then turns around with 11.5 with that bullshit defensive scheme. So in regular season play, he got you almost 28.5 sacks. And with the playoffs, he got you 30 in 2 years. He averaged 15 sacks a year. The NFC Championship game MVP, and you got rid of him. Sure. Hey, that made a ton of sense. Okay. Anything on Jurgens? Haven't heard his name mentioned since camp started. That's okay. He's a center, man. You don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear any injuries. I don't want to hear anything except that the guy's picking up what he needs. Slager, you're the one telling us that Jalen is defined by his last 6 games and not 22. And now you're getting on the knee pads for Reddick based on 22. No, I'm on the knee pads based on Reddick's time as an Eagle. I'm putting his tenure together. In 2 years, he's got you 30 sacks. And in those 2 years, he was the NFC Player of the Game in that championship game, helped you get to a Super Bowl. And like I said, delivered 30 sacks, which is 15 and a half. In case you can't count, Slager. That's his time in Philly. Is that bad? That's Reggie White shit. Trent Cole stuff. Hugh Douglas stuff. He didn't do shit the end of the last year. I know. Neither your boy. Neither did Jalen Kaepernick. Sills, IMO, the Reddick move is based on the fact that he said he did not want to drop into coverage. Vic just spent a season with cornerbacks bitching about press coverage. So I'm sure he just cut bait. I agree with that. So you signed a lesser player who would be willing more to do something that is advantageous to his skill set. And Huff said okay to it. He'll get older. He'll get smarter. Huff's strengths are not dropping in coverage. His strengths are getting after people. That's where his impact's going to be. That's why when Xander was asking the question today, why did they act? What exactly did they give him a contract for? Give him a contract extension for $51 million. What's the role? Is it just to get home? Is it to set the edge? And John McMullen said, well, Hassan Reddick wasn't really good at setting the edge and covering. Yeah, but the one thing you had with Reddick was that his production in Philly is what I just said it was. You knew what you had. You eliminated doubt. Hey, if some of these other players like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are going to benefit from Vic, why wouldn't Reddick? YouTube says Sills always has something to bitch about. No, I'm not bitching. I'm asking. It's August 1st. He's not quite cream puff yet. But hey, here's my impression so far of Bryce Huff being in a Philadelphia training camp. Yeah, everybody. My name is Bryce Huff. What do you say? What'd you say? I can't hear you. How come the room's so dark? I can't see you. I can't hear you or see you. What's going on with Bryce Huff? How come I can't hear him? How come I can't see you? August 1st? Hey, That is another good point. Hang on here. Let me bring that back. Now, Sills, Bryce Huff is going against Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. Yeah, I saw Hassan Reddick go right around Trent Williams in the NFC title game and almost break Brock Purdy in half. Remember, Trent Williams pushed him off to the tight end, and he ran right between both guys and annihilated the quarterback. Then they put the second team quarterback in, and I saw him run right around Trent Williams again. You must forget that game. That guy was running around Trent Williams. No, they were moving him around on both sides. They did all year that year. Wrong. Trent pushed him to the tight end. They put the tight end on him. And as soon as he blocked down the tight end, right in between both of them. Missed blocking assignment. Boom! And there goes Brock Chicken Wing Purdy. Yes, sir, baby. Boom. Oh, wait. You know what? It may have been the backup that he hit. Was the right tackle. He broke the second team quarterback up because if you remember right, McCaffrey finished the game. There were two quarterbacks he took out in that game. That's right. There were two. He went from left and then he hit on the right side. He did both because he took both quarterbacks out. Josh Johnson. That's it, Carmine. He destroyed Josh Johnson too. Comparing Reddick to Reggie's crazy. I said that's Reggie White like when you have 15 sacks back-to-back years. Nobody said he's Reggie White. I said that's Reggie White like. Who has 50? There's only one other player in pro football. There's only one other player in pro football in the last 4 years that has double-digit sacks. It's Myles Garrett and Reddick. Reddick was insane in that game. I'd make the point to you that guy had just as good an NFC title game as Hurts had in the loss in the Super Bowl. The guy was sensational. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like LT shit. He broke two quarterbacks in half over his knee. Crazy. Now, some say this. Sills, he goes against Lane and Mailata. Well, and why are you paying him if he's not quite that good? Well, those are the elite guys, so he's not elite. You had an elite pass rusher in the building. Which is it? Is he elite or not? Because Reddick was an elite pass rusher. But he's going against Lane and Mailata. Well, so did Reddick. And that guy gave you 30 sacks in 2 years. And the NFL top 100, Jalen ranked 15, Hurts, or Jalen 15, Dak 16. Jalen highest rank, NFC quarterback. This proves that Xander won. Yes. Oh, yeah. So who in their right fucking mind would take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow? That proves he's right. Okay, I'll tell you what. You take Jalen Hurts. I'll take Joe Burrow. Okay. Go ahead. It's great. No problem. Hey, do me a favor. Beat Tyrod Taylor first. Oh, man. Joe Burrow. He's better than Burrow. Really? Wow. I'm sorry, folks. I will not debate that. I will not debate that. That's not going to happen. My guy's better. Okay. Okay, honey. It's okay. Sills, which player do you feel makes the DL more dominant, Max Crosby or Simmons? Because you have two DTs in the middle, Bob, Crosby would be the better one because that would give you more depth on the perimeter. I think you need perimeter edge guys. Okay, I think you need, you think you need better perimeter guys. Okay. Yeager says until Jalen can read a defense, it doesn't matter who's the offensive coordinator is. Well, that's what I'm saying. But he looks good in pajamas. And the players like him over Burrow. Yeah, you know what's crazy? Organizations are going to pay that guy $55 million. And he's going to get another contract extension unless he doesn't get broken up. By the way, he's Joe Namath Burrow to me still. He's got issues too that I have with him. That's Joe Namath Burrow. Joe Namath Burrow. Until he could show me he can put a couple years in line, I got a problem with that. Stills, why did Aaron Rodgers have about 7 seasons under $4,000? That's your metric. Different league. By the way, in those years, just to show you how crazy that Forte comment is, and in that process, he threw for 38 touchdowns and 4 picks. Okay? Like that kind of Aaron Rodgers stats. To show you how pathetic that Forte stat is when you're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you missed a couple games too. Hey, one thing is for sure, your guy's never thrown for $4,000. So let's see the 3,000 passing yard seasons he had. He got hurt this one year. He had 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. This year he had 35 touchdowns and 7 picks. How about this number here for Rodgers, though? You think you'll ever see this from your guy, Jalen Kaepernick? 45 touchdowns, 6 picks. 39 touchdowns, 8 picks. 38 touchdowns, 5 picks. 31 touchdowns, 8 picks. 40 touchdowns, 7 picks. 25 touchdowns, 2 picks. 26 touchdowns, 4 picks. 48 touchdowns, 5 picks. 37 touchdowns, 4 picks. Fucking insane. How insane is that? I have to agree with that, Jalen. Okay? Boy, I'll tell you what, man. Simmons or Crosby, Stu, that would be really great. But they're going to play the younger guys. Oh, and who cares about those numbers? He's won a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP and 4 MVPs in a regular season. That's what he's done. Are you trying to make a comparison to Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers? Please tell me you're not. What's it gotten him? First ballot Hall of Famer. What exactly are you talking about? Please tell me you're not going down that route. I mean, you might not want that one. Well, he won it 12 years ago, 13 years. Doesn't matter, dude. It's on his resume. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a 4-time MVP. He's got more MVPs than Brady. I know. Well, it's called a career, YouTube. It's called having a career. It's like reading a book. See, but a guy like YouTube likes to rip pages out of the book, like people like to turn and throw statues down or take certain items down in our country's history and kind of forget what it's all about and pick and choose the shit that just fits your narrative. A pro football career is everything. By the way, last year, the Eagles season from the start to the finish, if you put it all in proper context, They were exactly the same team they were at the beginning of the year as they were at the end of the year. You know what that is? Inconsistent. Last year, the word of the year was inconsistency because you went like this to nosedive. That's inconsistency. That tells the story of the whole year. The year previous to that, you were healthy, consistent. That's how you got to Phoenix. You won the war of attrition. Your roster was great. You were healthy. And your players performed. Year before that, your quarterback was new. Your offense installations were new. And it was a learning process. 21 was actually a year where you give the whole thing a pass. First-year quarterback, helped get him to the playoffs, coming off a 4-win season. Actually, the 21 season was definitely better than the 23 season because there were no expectations on Hurts in 21. They're not even sure he was the guy then. Jalen Hurts' best seasons have been 22, 21, 23. Who would have thunk that? Mike McCarthy had that guy humming in Green Bay. That's why Dak was doing numbers because he knows how to call plays. Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing that I would say about Mike McCarthy. He's a junior version a little bit of Andy Reid Philly. I think that guy nuts up a little bit in them big games. 2 minutes into the half, 2 minutes coming or going at the rest of the end of the game. Andy Reid has got hey, you have to admit, that Andy Reid that you see in Kansas City is not the same Andy Reid play caller that you saw in Philly. That is not the same guy. Mahomes absolutely changes that dynamic, but just the way his mannerisms are. Andy used to be conservative going into half, and he was conservative at the end of ball games. That was one of the major problems that Jeffrey Lurie and the Eagle people had. That's why when that guy had a 4-win season at the end of the year, they were like this. I don't know, man. It looks like it's run out of juice. Hey, guess what? Mahomes can reignite anybody. You don't think? Would we not say that Patrick Mahomes is like jet fuel? Hey, my career got rejuvenated. Why? Oh, Patrick Mahomes was brought in the building. Okay. All right. We got a new introduction here. And, I don't know. I thought yesterday the guy, I'm Muhammad Ali. And you got to remember something about Sills being Ali. Every guy that has ever thought that they have beaten Ali, he went back and beat their britches off. And Ali, knows how to take a punch. Ali knows how to duck, bob, and weave, because that's why they call me the greatest. And that's what we do here. Xander came in all defending Jalen Kaepernick, and it was great yesterday, and I love it. And he asked the right questions this morning. By the way, they're doing a great job on Birds 365. So without further ado, we bring in, and the only way we can do it, Big Z. He joins the show now from Birds 365, Xander Krauss, the one and only co-host of Birds 365. How you doing?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother? Listen, if you're Muhammad Ali, you know what that makes me?
Tell me.
The white Floyd Mayweather, baby. 50-0, never lost. That's me, white Floyd Mayweather.
Okay. Did you see Mitchell and DeJean got red tagged by the Giants during the draft? Well, hey, let's just say this here, 304.
Oh, yeah, let's trust the New York Giants.
Yeah. Hey, are you really going to trust Joe Schoen with anything? I wouldn't trust him with a mocha. Sills, is the hype real about this college prospect, Harbor? I heard he's Megatron, Moss, and Tyreek Hill in one. He sure is, man. I'll tell you what, you're seeing a lot of superstar talented wide receivers in college football. And I'll tell you, here's the places that you go get them. Alabama, you go to Georgia now, you go to LSU for sure, you go to Clemson, you go to Ohio State. Those are the factories for wide receiver. And I think that's why a lot of teams are hanging out in those buildings, is because of that talent there. All right. So, Big Z, Was there something that sparked your ear that you didn't like? By the way, my poor aunt goes, damn. Is that, I mean, what's, and I go, what? Got to understand something, man. Something that our country doesn't do anymore. We have debates here. And that's what we do. Unlike any show in Philly or around the country, we have debates. And some of you, like the channel says, there should be a disclaimer. If you're a snowflake, JAKIB's not for you.
It's not.
It's just
really not. Yeah.
So is there something, Xander, that Big Sills yapped out in the first hour and a half of the program?
I hate to say it, folks, but I was with Big Sills on the whole Bryce Huff thing. Johnny Mack is telling me that, don't hang, give him time and let's see how it turns out. And I don't know, man. We paid this guy a lot of money, and now you're telling me that he's not a 3-down player. And in order for it to work for him, he's going to have 15 sacks. And I don't see 15 sacks at a Bryce Huff coming this year. Hopefully he has it. I don't see the same type of terrorizing edge rusher that Hassan Reddick was. Hassan had a lot of faults, and I'm aware of them all. He wasn't the 3-down player. He couldn't set the edge. He wasn't great in run. But, boy, he could get after a quarterback. I don't see that with Bryce Huff yet. Let's hope he can be that guy. But, I mean, that's a majority of what I thought I heard in the first hour. I was doing some other work. But, I'm with you, man. He's getting close to milk carton territory. Now let's get to the games and everything. But, you're telling me I need 15 sacks from him in order for that to be a good signing. That makes me nervous. Now, we did talk about this a little bit yesterday. And the one other thing I would say would be his life's going to be a little bit easier, with that defensive line this year. You're going to take away Bryce Huff. That means you're going to leave Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in one-on-ones. You're going to take away those guys. It's going to give you that lane for Bryce Huff on the outside to get around the edge. But he's still going to have to prove it. And I don't really want to hear that he can't get by Lane Johnson. I don't really care who's out there. You got to win some battles, just like Quinyon Mitchell's out there battling with A.J. Brown and winning a couple of them. You're not going to win every rep. I'm not asking you to destroy practice every day when you have Mailata and Lane Johnson out there, but we got to see it. And with how quiet he's been in camp so far, I mean, you've heard something on camp on everybody. You've heard something about Jalen Carter throwing people out. You've heard something on Jordan Davis. I even heard a little bit on Josh Sweat recently where, yeah, he looks good. He doesn't not doing anything great, but he does look like he's back to form. And, if they can keep his snaps down, he'll be a good player. I haven't heard anything on Bryce Huff. And that's a little bit concerning because he was our prize this offseason. We got rid of a good player to get him, and he's going to have to perform for that defense to live up to their expectation.
I thought your question this morning was, as simple as it was, I thought it was right to the point. Okay. You heard that, Mark, no snowflakes on JAKIB. Man, you know what? I got to tell you, man, I think Xander saved the show yesterday after the Mark Holmes thing. And we love Mark. I thought, you know what? Too much cowboy bullshit yesterday.
Mark must have not gotten much sleep the other night because, boy, he was a snooze fest. Mark, I hope you're listening, bro. You got to bring the heat next week.
Yeah, hey, better bring the heat, unlike your team. Okay, how about this, man? I thought you asked the perfect question to John. Okay, so exactly what did they sign him to do? Is it just because I think Bob Brown brought something great up. If you're just asking him to get 15 sacks, well, because of the snap count not being high, okay, that's all right. But if you're asking him to play every down and to get 12 sacks, I can live with that, Xander. If he's setting the edge and playing 800 snaps, I'm okay with that, all right?
He's not really built like Hassan. Like, he's got a bigger build to him. He looks like a guy that should be able to set the edge, if you know what I mean by that. Like,
but how about this, though? So we complained about the number of snaps. You just mentioned Josh Sweat with over 900. Who's Bryce Huff? What's his number?
He's wearing number 0.
How about this one, man?
Being facetious.
So Bryce Huff, his numbers went to like near 900 snaps, and his production went down. Why am I to believe that with 480 snaps, you're going to double that to nearly 900 snaps, and his production is going to go up? Why would I think that? I mean, even any player that's ever had more – look at Bradbury. Bradbury had 1,051 snaps last year. His production went down. Why am I to believe that Huff's production is going to go up?
Yeah, where it's all a projection. I mean, that's what the whole signing was. That's part of being GM in the NFL, where you're going to have to make projections at times. That's what the NFL draft is entirely. So there is moments where you have to make projections. And look, you remember when we signed Hassan Reddick? In a way, that was a projection.
Same thing.
Yep. And you said it, and I remember he struggled a little bit in his first couple weeks as an Eagle before he really got going in that 22 season, and you were on him. And so part of it is a projection. I just don't know if he's going to be that type of player that Hassan Reddick is. I hope he is. Bob Brown brings up another good point, and he brought this up on the show this morning, and John kind of dismissed it. Bob, I definitely fall more on your side with this than I did on John's, where Huff is a closer. We need a starter. J-Mac and his dispenser head is wrong. A pass rush specialist is a luxury we don't need. If he gets 15 plus, all is forgiven. Yeah, 15 plus is that's a big feat.
That's a tough ask.
Yeah, that's a tough ask. That's like top edge rushers in the league type of territory. That's like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett levels of production. And I don't see that with Bryce Huff. Let's see. But, the other interesting point you bring up is, the Jets gave up a pick to bring in Hassan Reddick, and it seems like they're going to have to give him at least an elevated contract to get, to get him on the field. Why did they not just keep Bryce? They obviously projected.
And he's younger.
Yeah. And he's younger.
He's 26.
Right? Younger, and he would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
17 mil we got him for. So they would have got, or 17 or 18 or whatever it is overall. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting to think about what they were going to do and why they didn't go that route. Obviously, like you mentioned, it's not like they have a defensive head coach. I mean, he's good. He built the San Francisco defense, as you pointed out. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm getting ready to put him on the milk carton with you, man. I really.
You think he's a Ryan Kerrigan sign?
Jeez, no. Ryan Kerrigan was good. Ryan Kerrigan was good in his prime, but he came here in his last year of his career and gave us a nothing burger. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Look, Bryce Huff's going to have to perform though, and the expectation is high for him. And if you're telling me he's not going to be a 3-down player, like Bob Brown put, all right, that means 15 plus sacks. So let's see what it means.
I'm going to go to my takeaways now, more in detail here with my coaches. And I want to get your take if you see the same thing I'm seeing or you see something completely different here with Nick. The cool thing about how Xander again has a different take most of the time, or sometimes we're kind of down the line how my observations and how I read some of the people at the press conferences or how I hear them talking. By the way, tonight, I think it's pretty cool. Fans get an opportunity to have fan night tonight. It's $10. If you never had a stadium experience, you're going to, what's cool too? You're going to see Jalen Hurts on the field more tonight than you will in any exhibition game at Lincoln Financial. And you're only going to have to pay $10 to get in the building to do it. So I think it's kind of a cool experience to take your family out there. Yeah. And you're going to see more of your favorite players actually getting some work tonight. So
a couple of our loyal listeners here on JAKIB are going down. I don't imagine they're in the chat right now. They're probably getting ready to travel down there. But I'm excited to hear from them. One guy said he was going to reach out to me and kind of give me what he saw. So I'm excited to hear a little bit from our fans, our loyal people who are down there and get a different take. These are fans of the team. And sometimes I think they get tired of listening to the beat reporters, which I understand. But there's still a place for them, and I'm excited to see what they have to say about him. I will not be down there tonight, unfortunately, but I'm excited to see how it goes for sure.
Guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate you guys. Again, you guys killed it last 2 days. Well over 300 likes, so please.
Yeah, incredible, man. The show's been really killing it. Thank you all this week, including our great debate yesterday, which I had a lot of fun with.
Let's go to Nick here, and this is my takeaway so far. First 5 and now tonight. We're going to hear, Xander, is it before or after the practice we're going to hear from Nick tonight?
Before. So he's supposed to speak at around 6:10, and then they'll come out at 6:30 to practice. I'm wondering if maybe they push that back a little bit because, boy, Sills, it's hot here today where I am. Okay. I'm like 25, 30 minutes from the stadium, so I'm right in the area in Philly here, and I just had the dogs out a little bit before your show. It's hot today. And it doesn't cool down really until later here, 7. So I don't know, just be on the look. They might push it back a little bit if it's too hot, but 6:30 the start time. Nick's supposed to speak at 6:10. We'll see what he has to say.
You think they maybe push it into the lights instead, just not
I don't know if they'll go that late because they don't want to, the fans are getting down there earlier. So, but maybe a 30-minute push, push it to 7 p.m. just so it cools down more in the back end of practice. But yeah, we'll see.
This is my takeaway on Nick. He's been out of the way. Actually, I haven't seen a ton of him. And I would say this to you, Xander. He's probably been the best in front of a microphone in 3 years. He's trying to figure out this role that they have him in. He's playing the game. He's saying the right things. Now, look, adversity, when it hits, will tell us a lot more, obviously.
Yeah.
But again, on August 1st, the one thing it's not weird. It's not quirky. He's like, okay, this to me is kind of what you and I said. Remember when I made that list about 3 months ago? Just stay out of the way. And that's kind of like where I'm at with him. Let me get this disciple. Dan, what's the reason they invented the stand-up defensive end? I think those guys are less productive than the guys with their hands in the dirt. Let me answer this one here, disciple. Here's why. When you stand up, you get a better look at the backfield when you're standing up, and you get a better look on the onside to see if there's going to be a counter tray or there's going to be a jet sweep. So when you're got your hand down, when you have your hand down like this, all you're seeing is helmets. When you're standing up, you get a better look of what they're trying to do. If they're going to bring a reverse, do I have to get as deep as the ball? Do I have to trail the ball? So you get a better look at what they're doing. If they're going to bring a tight end back over in motion, so you get a better look at formation from a stand-up position than you do down in the dirt with your hand in the dirt. So it just gives, and that's why you have to have more athletic guys out there on the perimeter.
You think they're going to do Bryce Huff like that a little bit? Keep, stand up a little bit?
What I would do with him, I would put him out wide, though. Because you know what I don't want him doing? I don't want him matching up against Trent Williams. I'd rather, if I'm going to have a matchup for him, I want backs out of the backfield and some tight ends, because it's a mismatch against offensive tackles with him. So I would put him wide out. And you know what I mean? Look, I'd put my Will and my Sam out wide.
Yeah, that's like that 7 technique you talked about yesterday, right?
Yeah, and bring my ends closer in on the 5 techniques.
Right.
Just to protect. But Nolan, look, the one thing Nolan Smith is going to bring to this defense, along with Bryce Huff, they're going to bring speed on the edge. Okay, let's just say this. They're going to bring speed. I don't know how they're going to utilize it. I don't know if they're going to.
I mean, it's going to be tough for him to be quicker than Hassan, though. Hassan was quick off the edge. That was arguably his best trait, how quick he was off the edge. And he did do a lot of standing up out there. So that's where I'm confused, because they're, in a way, now I'm being told he's, going to be what Hassan Reddick was, but he's not the same player as Hassan Reddick. You had Reddick. Why didn't you just deal with that? Yeah, I I guess I get it. They didn't, look, here's the problem with Hassan Reddick. He was a great player here. I have great memories of him. I don't view him in a negative light on his.
He was a great Eagle.
Great Eagle. He was a great Eagle, but he's not a $25 million edge rusher.
No.
He doesn't do everything. He's a one.
John's right on this.
John's right. And that's where you go, okay, I would have given you 17, 18, 19, maybe even 20 million as a thank you for what you did. But I'm not going to $25 million, dude. You got to be Myles Garrett. You got to be TJ Watt. You got to be Max Crosby. You got to be some of these other guys that are out there destroying games. What's that?
More versatile.
Exactly. And he's not that guy. So that's the problem with Hassan. So from that perspective, I could see why the Eagles moved on from him. I just don't know if the contingency plan is going to work like they're hoping it works. And that could be a big problem for a defense that has a lot of question marks, You know
what, too, Xander? I think it's going to kind of work, but I don't think it's going to work to what they had. Lane said Huff has the fastest get off of in the game. Yeah. Well, you know what, though?
I love Lane Johnson, but he's a company guy.
Hey, Nick, you know what, though, I'll say? You're the only guy that has said something positive about Bryce Huff between the coordinator and everybody out there that's watching him. I mean, even the defensive coordinator hasn't talked positive about him. That's a problem that I have. All right. Hey, your takeaway on my thoughts on Nick.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think you make a good point, but on the flip side of it, this is not when I'm looking to see how Nick is doing. Fair. A couple press conferences in July and early August are not where what I'm looking for out of Nick Sirianni. Like you said, when adversity hits, how's he managing? If the offense sputters a little bit, what's the relationship like with him and Kellen Moore? How do they manage that in his first year outside of, controlling that offense a little bit? Is he open to really embracing his new role, which is kind of letting Kellen be Kellen and run that offense how he sees fit? So that's where I'm really looking to see Nick Sirianni. But overall, I think,
You're right.
I wasn't great. I wasn't high on Nick Sirianni last year. And I've been very critical of him. I honestly didn't like when they brought him back, but at the end of the day, I think maybe we've taken it a step too far where look, our team's been very successful with Nick Sirianni so far. I know they have a lot of talent, but overall, things have been very successful in the Nick Sirianni era. I think he's deserved a little bit of grace here where he can get it back. Now he's got to do it this year, but I think he's at least earned that right. And I'm going to give him it. Just like I said, when you fired Doug Peterson, what do you mean you fired Doug Peterson? The guy won a Super Bowl first couple years ago. They didn't give him that autonomy and they didn't give him that right. Even if it was the wrong pick that Doug wanted, I think he deserved the right to get it, to fail at it. I feel the same about Nick, and, let's see on him. I think, you're right though. What you said is spot on. Going to have to stay out of the way. Going to have to learn his new role, embrace it, and be good at it in order for the Eagles to be successful. But I think he will, and I think he has no choice. He's fighting for his job.
I think you're dead on with this.
Yeah.
By the way, I think Ty just said something here. Is Reddick at Jets camp? Well, I'll ask the same question. Has Huff been at Eagle camp? So far, I don't know if Huff's been at Eagle camp. I mean, both guys don't know. Both guys aren't in camp. The way it's going here, Ty. Ty, I mean, hey, at least one guy's in Japanese flip-flops. The other guy, I don't know what he's doing.
That was one of my favorite segments you had of the offseason when you were doing the sword with the samurai, with Hassan Reddick. That was hilarious. What are they going to do with him, by the way?
They're going to give him more money. From what I'm understanding, they're getting to a number, and supposedly Joe Douglas has offered this thing up. They're going to try to get it up over 20. And if he has shown production and Robert Saleh thinks that the guy is deserving, they're looking at giving a 3-year contract midway point of the season and giving him a contract extension, probably 2 years of deep money, 1 year with a team-friendly option because he is 30 going on 31, whatever it is. So they'll probably, or 30, 29 going on 30. So they'll probably give him a 3-year contract, front-ended. But they made it very clear to him prior to even making the trade. Hassan reneged on a lot of the stuff that he promised the Jets. He told him he'd show up to OTAs.
Yeah,
he told him he showed up to minicamp, and then he kind of reneged on it. And the Jets had told him, we'll work on a deal.
Yeah, but you know what? Still, sometimes when I hear that about a player, I pause because the organizations control this league. And back to the point on Bryce Huff, where you're like, oh, why didn't the Jets keep him? They're a pretty shitty organization. Yep. And the fact that you trade for a player and you don't have this stuff dealt with, like maybe Hassan was told some things too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we're going to work on your deal. We're going to get this done. Just make sure you show up for camp. Make sure you do some of those things. And then all of a sudden he gets traded. He hasn't heard from anything from his agent. And he's like, F you, I'm not showing up for minicamp. So, I don't look.
You're right.
That organization, and maybe it is Hassan who went off on some of his promises, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets did the same to him. So we'll see, what ends up happening there. But I think 20 plus for him is going to be an overpay for a guy who's 30 years old.
I want to give you some kudos for yesterday about one thing you said that I went back and thought about. Okay. By the way, please hit the like button, guys.
Thought that was a great debate yesterday. I really did. I thought you made good points. I thought I made some good points.
No, you made one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun segment. I had a lot of fun doing it. Sometimes that's needed. Everybody, we're talking sports. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you're going to have disagreements, and I think it's
in the world, this is anthills, guys.
Exactly. This is inconsequential to the real world, so it's all good.
So, but you said something that I liked today when you were talking to John. The top 100 list. It does matter. Now, again, the rankings are stupid, but what's not stupid is that people, what they think of you in the league. Like the number itself in the rankings, it really doesn't matter. Nobody's taking a certain guy over Joe Burrow or Aaron Rodgers or whatever. I mean,
yeah, right. I got you.
It's not. However, when you hear other players in the league having respect for you, your journey, how hard you work, your teammates liking you, That's the most important thing you could possibly have in this game is respect. Okay? And the respect of the opponents that have for you. That, to me, it matters on how the league and your teammates and everyone see you. Because you know what that does? Xander, nothing's given in this league. Your career's not given. Your salaries are not given. You have to earn every single thing. And the hardest thing to earn, it's easier to earn money in the NFL than it is respect.
Yeah, it's true.
Aaron Rodgers has earned a ton of money, but he has not earned any respect from his teammates and people in the league.
About that.
Well, how about this?
I see what you're saying. I don't know if he was the right example. How about like Kyler Murray?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, when you have to build in a study hall session in your contract, that shows you that you don't have a true commitment to the game.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, but there's certain guys that have half the room's attention. Then there's certain guys that have the entire league's attention.
It's true.
And I think that matters.
Yeah. Were you able to catch the video that the NFL put out too? They do like a graphic, but they also put up a couple-minute video. And there was like Patrick Surtain was in there talking. There was a bunch of other dudes in there talking. And, look, I get it where John's like, John's thing is he's been in the locker room when the players fill out their top 100. And he's like, if you saw these guys, they just literally, they just sketch it down. Like they don't even care. And so I get it. Like maybe the ranking it is what it is. It doesn't really matter. But I do think some of the guys who spoke in that video, they spoke highly of him. And it shows you, I think people, you can have your gripes on Jalen Hurts. He's a tough guy to face because he presents a lot of challenges to your defense. And I think, like you just said, teams respect him. He's earned his mark in the league as a guy that, the odds were stacked against him. You know what I mean? He got benched at Alabama. It was a second-round draft pick. Coming off there was a lot of stuff against Jalen Hurts. He wasn't this first-round draft. He wasn't this 2 overall, 1 overall guy. And he earned his stripes, and he did it in a way that I think a lot of people respect through hard work, through commitment, through leadership, and through winning. He won ball games. He continues to win ball games. And I think that earned a lot of respect. And,
isn't it funny the two guys?
I think it matters.
Isn't it funny that the two guys in the NFC East are basically overachievers? Dak and Hurts, they were both. One was drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah,
the other guy was drafted in the 2nd round. Yeah. These are guys that were not.
I have a lot of respect for Dak's story too, despite our debate yesterday.
Yeah, no. He has to win. But to your point and John's point, and I think I've showed this to you. Here's a Pro Bowl ballot that I'm on, right there. Big Sills is on that ballot right there for the Pro. This is a Pro Bowl ballot that we got back in the day. Pretty cool. I kept it because my name was on the Pro Bowl ballot. Okay?
I love that you kept all that stuff.
So, but here's the point. I would get a call from Jerome. Hey, who are you voting for? Well, who do you think, dickhead? I'm voting for you. Because you couldn't vote for your own teammates.
Right.
So what you had to do, you'd get calls. He goes, you voting for me? Yeah. Then I'd get a call from Dave Butts. Hey, man, Big Sills, how you doing? I got you. Before you only get 2 votes. Wait a minute. What is it? How many votes you get? Yeah, you get 2 votes. I get a vote. Tony Casillas comes on. Hey, Sills, you going to vote for me? What are we going to do?
Well, because there's money tied to it. So it's not just an ego thing. These dudes are trying to get to the Pro Bowl so they can get the bigger contract.
Yeah, you plus get the incentive.
Exactly, the incentive, right.
So like Michael Carter, hey, Big Sills, member man over at the Penn Relays, Franklin Field, when you picked my shot put up, we're boys now, right? I need that vote. Okay, so to John's point, he's right because you know what? The list, you're going to put your boys on that list. And you're going to do a lot of things. But what I liked was like you get a $300K bonus payout. Yeah, no, I don't think mine was $300K. I think mine was more like $15,000 for being on the ballot, actually. If you get votes and you get in, I think you got $85,000 or $100,000 if you made the Pro Bowl back in my time. But I got 2 votes because I got Jerome to vote for me and I got Kevin Fagan to vote for me. So I made myself $30,000.
There you go, Big Sills.
How you doing? All right, let's go to Kellen Moore. As I said yesterday, it's a facelift that could also now result in the resurrection of what potentially Barkley was supposed to be in New York. I give it to you. Barkley's never played with exceptional talent, organization, since Jerry Reese and Tom Coughlin have left have been a train wreck. It's true. There's no doubt. But still, the tag of him being the second pick in the draft, he's never – like, Derrick Henry's a second rounder.
Yeah, which is insane, by the way. I forgot that, and you said that earlier, and I'm like, holy crap. Who the hell was evaluating that draft board that Derrick Henry fell to the second round? I mean, but yeah, no, to your point.
Second round. But
unreal.
What we have here is that Kellen could turn this kid into something that they envisioned that he would be a 2.0 pseudo version of a McCaffrey.
I don't want to call him McCaffrey, Sills. I don't think he's got that skill set, dude.
You don't think he can catch that kind of footballs and be in that conversation like that?
No. I'm not trying to knock the player. I just don't think that that's his game. I don't think that that's really his skill set. Now, we had a couple beat reporters on the other day on Birds 365, and you can agree with this or disagree with this. I disagreed with it. But just saying from guys who aren't fans of the team who are objective, they went as far to say Saquon looks like the third best pass-catching running back on the team. I'm not saying they're right. I get it. It was dumb.
Are they saying Shipley's better?
They're saying, one, Kenny Gainwell was a receiver in college, so he's a good pass catcher of the football. And Will Shipley did it a lot at college.
He did a lot, Clemson.
He caught the ball a lot, and apparently he's looked pretty good in camp catching the ball. So I don't really think it was like trying to knock Saquon. I think they were trying to make a point that it's not his forte. He can do it, but you're talking about Christian McCaffrey here. He's the best running back in the league, a guy that's so good at it.
Let's not forget in Carolina, he had 100 catches, 1,000 yards receiving, and 1,000 yards rushing.
Pete's saying Xander's on crack. Of course, Barkley can catch. I know he can catch, Pete. I'm not saying he can't catch. He's a great athlete. I mean, I can catch the ball. I know he can catch. I'm just saying, I don't know. Dan compared him to McCaffrey. I'm not ready to go that far. Maybe he has a good year and looks like that. I doubt it, though.
Absolutely there. Jameson, always remember this. This broadcasting business is a damn tough one, brother.
Well, no,
it is a damn tough one. Nothing is a given.
I got no problem answering all these questions about it because it's business. Like I've talked about it before. Jameson, we actually, nothing ever happened with D Gun other than his wife had a big medical condition. She suffered a bad medical condition, and he is a family first guy. And he said, look, this is more important to me. And I talked to D Gun recently. We are on great terms with Derrick Gunn, but he is still focused on taking care of his wife first and foremost. He has a lot of kids. He has a lot of grandkids. He's the patriarch and she's the matriarch of a big family. And Derrick Gunn puts his family first, and I have absolutely no problem with that. And that's really what happened to D Gunn. I mean, he didn't leave us because of any other reason other than that. And look, all love to him. Prayers up for him because he's still battling with his wife. So we hope everything goes good, but I'd love to get him back one day. I don't know if he will be back, though. Full transparency. I'm not sure if he would ever be back or if he's ever going to go into a role where he's consistently on the air again.
Awesome stuff right there, man. That's really great to see. By the way, all the shit you read about me and JAKIB, it just shows you, man. Guys, believe the horse. Don't believe the people who ride the horse.
I could give a shit what they write about us.
No, man. Hey, to finish up here on Kellen, this motion office is a great concept. And as we said, and as Keith Byers said, this stuff will be validated in September in Sao Paulo and then the rest of the year. But I got to tell you, Xander, when you asked me a couple months ago, Sills, do you think Kellen Moore is the right guy? I said, I don't know. I'm moving more towards it being that I think he's a competent offensive coordinator and that I think he's going to give this team an opportunity to evolve this offense to being something that they're looking at doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to be something they're going to try to do. And he's got a lot riding on it, as I said the other day, too. He's been fired 2 years in a row. This is a big year for him.
It's a huge year for him. Look, I actually, Kellen, here's the other thing. We talked about it with Nick. I got to talk about it with Kellen, too. The guy did oversee 2 number 1 offenses in the NFL. Now, they had a lot of talent, but we have a lot of talent. So my point is he's a smart offensive mind. He might have his problems. He might do some things differently than other people would, like to see him do. But look, he's overseen a very good offense in this league. I think the biggest question with Kellen for this year is how does he embrace Jalen Hurts? You know, because this is a different style of a quarterback than he's had in the past. To your point, we debated it yesterday with Dak, who's a passing quarterback. This is a different style for him. So how does Kellen embrace that skill set, put him in a position to succeed, you know, while also working in the things he wants to do with the motion and spreading the ball around and getting the ball to the tight end and all those things? I think they're all great, but you got to make it work around your quarterback, who's the most important guy on your team. And that's the biggest question. So far, it seems like he's done a really nice job. Jalen's thriving in practice right now. Apparently, he's been absolutely lights out, 85% of passes, no interceptions. I know it's just practice, but apparently Jalen Hurts is really taking command of this offense. So I'm still high on it, but that would be my biggest question if there was one on Kellen is, you know, I don't think he's going to be – I don't have questions on him knowing what to do with the talent. I don't have questions on whether he can draw up a good offensive scheme. I have questions on if he can handle the type of quarterback that Jalen is. So that's the biggest question on him, and I think it's fair, but I think he's going to handle it well. I think so far he has, and you're starting to see Jalen already from OTAs to training camp, how much of a jump he's made and how good he looks now compared to the summer. He was throwing interceptions and didn't feel comfortable and 95% new, and Jalen's already taken a lot of jumps forward. So that would be my biggest question on Kellen, but overall I feel pretty comfortable. I feel pretty confident in him.
Disciple, I think they should put Johnny Wilson in the third hole. Nobody can cover him in practice. He had 3 guys on him and still caught it. I think that's more red zone stuff. I think what I heard John talking about is more in open space from 20 to 20. Yeah, you're going to be more because it's a freakazoid kind of mismatch because of his physical presence, because he's so tall at 6'7". But I think John was more talking about his development and route running, and also
John says he's not ready.
Defenses that he's not ready yet.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with him being in a red zone office setting.
I don't either. And that's where I disagree with John this morning. And I told him that. I'm like, listen, you're telling me they're going to approach this wide receiver 3 by committee, and you don't think there's any role for the guy who's 6'7" and torch defenses in college? I mean, look, I don't need him to be AJ Brown. I just need him to catch the ball when the ball is thrown to him and potentially create mismatches in the red zone. I don't even need him to get the ball, you know, like, just create a mismatch. If you draw a defender, and you might draw 2 because of his size, you know, that's going to create openings for Saquon, for AJ, for Devontae, for Jalen. So, you know, I think there's a role for him on this team, and we'll see, you know, how they use it. Real quick before, JJ Ruiz is down there. Wait a second. I want to rep Pete Nathan. All right. Let me rep Pete Nathan, who told me I'm delusional for saying Saquon isn't a great catcher. He's better all around back than McCaffrey, running, pass pro, and picking up blitzes. He's not even close.
Not close.
Stop, man. Christian McCaffrey is the greatest back the league has seen in a long time. He is very elite. Saquon Barkley is not. Yeah, Saquon Barkley is not that, Pete. I love you, brother. I appreciate you being here, but come on, man. Don't make me be delusional up here.
He's never had the career that he's
not better than Christian McCaffrey. Yeah,
Dude,
he's never been
2 years of over 100 catches in Carolina and 1,000 yards a year and 1,000 yards rushing with that shitty Carolina team. You got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
All right, let me get to Vic here, and I want to say something. My first week, you know, you guys were talking about names that people have been talking about. You know, the one thing that I'm feeling for the first time on your defensive side of the ball, and I can't believe on August 1st, I'm fucking saying this. I feel there's a core being built. And what I mean by that is 2 dudes are popping in, Quinyon Mitchell and Jalen Carter. All I'm hearing about, step for step, kid speed, athleticism, jabber, love him, teammates like him. Carter's throwing Mekhi Beckham on his head. And you're sitting here going, man, so you got an interior defensive tackle and you got a corner who they're developing that they're sliding in all 3 positions. I don't think people understand, hey, I've never played slot corner. When did you find out? I was walking out to practice with my helmet in my hand. You just don't do that, dude. That's not like that. And they dropped him in there, and he was effective. I like the fact that these 2 guys are standing out in a crowd.
Yeah, you're right. They really are. I mean, look, these are 2 guys who, as you've pointed out, could anchor this defense for a long time. Now, while I do love the 2 guys we got, and I'm excited for them, Big Sills, if I created a wish list of what I want, I want a guy on the edge that is an elite talent that we draft somewhere, like a Will Anderson, like these guys that you see go early. I would love for the Eagles to make that their next staple move on that defense for years to come. I know it's a wish list. I get it. We're not going to be a high draft pick the next couple of years, but we had a lot of first round picks, and I was hoping we got an edge rusher of that caliber. Then we wouldn't be having this conversation. I guess they think Nolan Smith might be that guy. He doesn't look like it to me. I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be that, though. But that would be my wish list. But you're right, man. I mean, look, we haven't had a corner like that in a while, too. You know, that you have here for a long time.
That you home grew.
Exactly, that you home grew. And I think Quinion has the chance to be really great. And Jalen Carter, I don't think there's any doubt on that guy. I mean, you know, part of the reason we ended up with Jalen Carter is because Howie got such good job security. He could look past a lot of the stuff, you know, many other teams couldn't. You know, you have new GMs. You had Ryan Poles in Chicago. A lot of these other GMs, man, you make a mistake like that in the top 8 of the draft, you're in trouble and you're going to get fired. So, you know, he falls in our lap at 9 overall or 10 over. I think we traded up from 10 to grab him at 9.
Chicago.
Yeah. So, you know, I think he's going to be an all-pro player. I think he has the chance to be a Hall of Fame type of player. So we'll see. Hopefully he's, you know, all the stuff off the field isn't a factor, which I don't think it will be, but obviously it's something that has to be talked about. And I think he's got a chance to be a really tremendous football player for this team for a long time. Better than Fletcher Cox, potentially, which is crazy to say, a guy that will be in the Eagle Hall of Fame.
I think the guys in the room with Reggie, with Jerome's talent.
Yeah, and from a talent perspective. Yeah, I didn't see Jerome play, but
he's kind of he's more in that room. And and plus you can add Jordan Davis. I mean, let's find out if the nose tackle move, if that's going to improve. Boy, I'll tell you this too, man. We were bringing it up earlier. I'd love to get that kid Simmons from Tennessee added to the mix. You imagine those 3 horses in the middle, Xander. If you had Simmons, Davis, and Carter.
Yeah, I think.
Oh shit!
I love it, but think
you got too much equity. I get it. 13-9 at the 2 defensive tackle positions. It would be more of something on the edge, like the guy Hendrickson in Cincinnati or Max Crosby potentially in Las Vegas. That would be something that you would take a look at because of the equity that you have. I still think you're thin at tackle and you're thin at the edge right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think any edge rushers are available like that. But if you're talking about acquiring a guy that's about to get big money, I would prefer to go
Joey
edge.
Bosa.
Yeah, not even him. I like both.
He's
Joey,
a 10-sack guy.
Yeah, but he's not like you talked about guys like. Now I don't know if there's anybody available that would be even out there. Somebody had a comment earlier. I forget who it was, and I forget the name he used. He said,
just to show you something, though, Xander, real quick. Those edge rusher guys. How many guys have come out of college where you saw that they had a massive impact? And by the way, they kind of landed on Parsons in Dallas, but Parsons, Von Miller, Myles Garrett, these are like every 4 years, 5-year guys. I think Will Anderson has a shot to be one of those guys. Hey, VJ, I have it up here. We just haven't hit it yet, kid. Keep it in your pants here. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, McCaffrey's not the greatest running back of his era. I think Xander, what he was talking about is he's more of the complete back of his era. King Henry is common. C-Mac is boss, but he's more of a wide receiver running back, which, that's pretty much what he said, is that, you know what? He's a more complete back than anybody. But once again, too, VJ, who makes more money? Who has the money belt? McCaffrey wears the money belt, not Henry. Okay,
yeah,
he's the highest paid running back in the league.
He's more of an impact on the game in the modern NFL. Remember, you have to factor in the context of where we are in the league. You know, we talked about context a lot yesterday, which Big Sills couldn't seem to get through that big noggin of his. But you have to factor it in. The McCaffrey types are more valuable in today's NFL over the Derrick Henry type. I love Derrick Henry. You're right; he's a great back, but I think McCaffrey obviously is paid like it, but he's also, I think he's more valuable in today's NFL. Why did you guys ignore my first super? All right, VJ. All right, my guy.
We got you. Hey, my bad there. Okay, all good, VJ. We're good, brother there. All right. Finally here with Vic. Multiple fronts. Best player's going to play. Scheme won't be the issue. I think he's the right guy for the job.
Who, Vic?
Yep. Of all the hires they've made, he's the right guy for the job. I mean, if he can't fix it, you're going to have to go Belichick.
Yeah, I think Vic is good. I mean, I don't love the defensive style that he plays.
Or would you go Vrabel?
What's that?
Would you ask Vrabel to be the DC?
But here's the thing: it's a moot point because the Eagles are not going to do that. They don't want that style of coordinator. They like this style. It's been their way since Jim Schwartz has been gone. They've gone, Gannon, and then and then to Desai, and then it's what they want. So they got their guy,
you're right.
And I think he's right from that perspective. I think he has a chance to bring the best out of the defensive front with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, which I like about it. But, you're talking about Quinyon Mitchell being a long-term guy at corner. He's never going to get that press corner type of reps. He's never going to be that press corner. He's going to be the zone guy, that they mold like that. So, no, you're right, though. I do think he's the right coordinator for where we are and for what they want on this team. I just wonder how good can he make this D? We have a lot of good players, but we don't necessarily have proven talent yet. And my concern is, what do we need? If you want to talk about competing for a Super Bowl, how good does the defense need to be? Is it top 10? Is it top 5? Is it top 15? You think top 15? Okay, so do we have the horses on the roster to get to a top 15 defense, even with Vic being the coordinator? Because if you look at Vic's career
by the end of the year.
If you look at Vic's career, though, he's not a shoo-in for a top 15 defense. He's got a lot of defenses that have been bottom half of the league.
Wait, you could have shitty numbers at the end of the season, but be playing a top 15 defense by December. And what that could win you a Super Bowl, dude. Okay? I mean, if you get into the playoffs and say you're hanging around 18, but all of a sudden the last couple weeks of the season, your defense is clicked up into a high gear. Dude, remember, this is about how you're finishing.
Yeah, it's true.
We killed the Eagles this all offseason about how they finished, right? If they finish this offseason strong and they finish where they're a top 15, top 12 defense, Xander, they're right there in the room. I know you're busy, brother, and I appreciate you doing this. By the way, real quick, if I can get somebody to point out how many likes we have here.
Jason, I can do it for you. Just give me 1 second. Right?
Yeah, don't forget Birds 365. But by the way, we're going to lead you kind of right up until tonight's game also, too, there at Lincoln Financial, too. So, yeah, guys, the number's not going to really tell you. 151, holy cow, that's great. So we're 49 away from 200. And a little bit behind from yesterday, but I'll tell you what, I'm liking it here, man. So let's see if we can get that number by the end.
Another good take here from Bob Brown real quick. Just talking about Vic Fangio and how good this defense can be. I think Vic's job is to make the defense reliable. Good will come one day, but reliable is necessary. It's a great take, Bob Brown, because that's what you need if you want to be a defense that can win a Super Bowl. You got to be reliable, like you point out, and that's a good take. And I think Vic can get us to that point, even with the guys we have on the team right now. So good take again, Bob Brown. Appreciate the comment, brother.
Xander in the morning, Birds 365. Those guys do a great job. By the way, I got to do it again. The new moniker is Big Z. Don't forget, you catch him in the morning there with John McMullen. And, hey, I want everyone to know this. The cool thing about our network is, hey, nothing's personal. John does a sensational job. You see the stuff that he puts on our network, and he's chiming in and giving you a bird's eye view just because there's dissenting issues. And even with Paul Domowitz, you know what? The guy may not like me, but one thing I do like, I like his work. And again, this is not about friendships here. I don't really give a shit about that stuff. I care you bring a great product to the table. And when you bring great product, that's for you guys.
Just no more Glaze and Dak Bradford, okay?
Oh, don't worry about it. Tyrod Hurts will be here this year. I can't wait for Tyrod Hurts. Holy shit.
Tyrod Taylor can't sniff Jalen Hurts' jockstrap.
Holy shit, I wish I could have been that for it. Wait, I was. All good.
Tyrod Taylor can't sniff Jalen Hurts' jockstrap.
He beat his ass last year with the pizza guy. The pizza guy Danny flipping pizza and Tyrod Taylor beat the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Right off of Drew Lock's great performance.
You know, it's fun. It's fun doing this show, Big Sills, because it's a lot different than the show I'm on in the morning. It's a different side of me. It's a different feeling.
Yeah, I feel like I gotta wear a tie when I watch your show. It's all good, man. I'll see you in the morning, Xander. Thank you so much. We'll catch you tomorrow, my friend.
All right, brother. I'll see you, man. See you, everybody. Appreciate you.
Our good friends, man. Hey, everybody, we really appreciate it. Don't forget, Jason Cole right around the corner. It's Hall of Fame night, too, tonight. The Hall of Fame game is tonight. How many people here believe Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer? He's going to be eligible in 2025 for the Hall of Fame. Is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? I'm going to talk to him about that, his thoughts about the upcoming season, his thoughts about the inductions this weekend. By the way, Hall of Fame inductions this weekend. Hit the like button. Keep it here. National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. We're going to talk to our resident Hall of Fame insider. He's a voter. He is also a man with Yahoo Sports who joins us each and every single week, Jason Cole. We'll talk to him more about Eric Allen. By the way, guys, you should, every time Jason Cole comes on, you should ask him, why isn't Eric Allen in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Okay? You should. You should ask him. Before I get going here, and he's right around the corner. By the way, we're going to talk a little Baltimore Ravens. I have that here. That's going to be your first preseason exhibition game. Is going to be against the Ravens. I got that here, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be next week. Ravens have actually more turnover than I actually thought that, and maybe just as much turnover as what we saw with the Eagle defense. So, I mean, does Fangio, Frankenstein, Jalen Hunt play more snaps than Nolan Smith? You better hope not. You better hope that kid, Jalen Hunt, does not play more than Nolan Smith, because Nolan Smith will officially be a bust. Thank you, VJ. Thank you guys for your super chats. Seals, do you think Howie Roseman has carte blanche during the draft? And did he earn it? Great question. Let's do this. VJ, give me Howie Roseman's top 5 draft choices. Give me his top 5 draft choices. What would be Howie Roseman's top 5 draft picks? Lane was not a Howie Roseman pick. Malata? Devontae? Jason Peters wasn't a draft pick. Jalen Carter? Kelce was not a Howie Roseman pick. It was an Andy Reid pick. Fletcher was not a Howie Roseman pick. It was an Andy Reid pick and Joe Banner. Dickerson? BG was not a Howie Roseman pick. It was a Joe Banner pick. Landon? BG wasn't his pick. So, Malata, Devontae, Carter, Dickerson. Isn't it funny that all these guys have been in the last 4 years? What about previous? He's been there 30 years almost. And my takeaway on all the old linemen, all of this comes down to Jeff Stoutland and his input. Now, how he picks them. Lane was a Chip Kelly selection. Lane Johnson was not picked by Howie Roseman. He was and by the way, Jeff Stoutland was a Chip Kelly hire. So, I mean, Dickerson, I agree. Milton Williams, a sneaky good one. Well, Sills, Eli deserves strong consideration for the Hall of Fame. 2-time Super Bowl winner, both over TB12, but first ballot? Hell no. He is never even a top 3 player at his position when he played. That's such a true. Josh Sweat, Senor, I agree. I think Josh Sweat's been a great pick because he was a latter round pick, 4th, I think. Okay. Dude, Andy Reid was in the building with Joe Banner. How did he pick him? I heard Andy Reid saying that Jason Kelce and Brandon Graham were part of the selections that he had when he was still in the building. Wasn't Andy Reid still a head coach of the team? And wasn't Banner still in the building then? Andy Reid had say over the personnel then. Not Howie Roseman. Goddard's a good one. Justin, hey, Isaac Seumalo. It's a pretty good pick. It's funny. Finally, somebody got to Jalen Hurts. So to answer your question, I think it pretty much answers exactly. Yes, Banner and Reed picked BG and Kelce. And these guys are nuts, and Howie lies a lot with that stuff. Okay? I would say this to you. Recently, he's built the equity up. But overall, it's taken time for him. I could not wait for this day today because tonight's the Hall of Fame game. And we got 2 Hurricane guys going in. And this is really like, it kicks off the National Football League season here. You know, last week you had the first day of training camp. You had pads. I think teams are now in their second day of pads. And now that the guys that are going into the Hall of Fame, Patrick Willis, Julius Peppers, Andre Johnson, you had Devin Hester, Randy Gradishaw are going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's a pretty damn good class. I say Patrick Willis, he's also going in. You know, you really had to look up his stats and you really had to dive into it. He is a heck of a ball player. And now we got a new crew of first-year eligible guys. And the guy who's on that panel to vote for the modern-day players is our dear friend. That is Jason Cole. He joins us now here on the National Football Show. Jason,
excuse me.
Appreciate you coming aboard, my friend. I mean,
sure.
What do you make about tonight's class going into the Hall of Fame? Obviously, inductions are Saturday.
You know, I will say this. If you were to find like the quietest Hurricane players of all time to put them up in the same, the guys who would talk the least amount of trash, right? Would Andre Johnson and Devin Hester be like 1 and 2, and the guys who would be the quietest? I mean, I'm not saying that every one of you guys is a gigantic trash talker, but it certainly leans more toward the trash talk than not. And these guys are at the extreme of not, if that makes sense.
Oh my God, there's only one other guy that fits in that category, and that's Testaverde. Vinny was never a trash talker.
But he wasn't a Hall of Fame, not a Hall of Fame.
Not a Hall of Famer, but he was a quiet guy, and he never spoke. He did win the Heisman at Miami, but when he played there, he was such a quiet guy. And really, Devin Hester and unlike Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Warren Sapp and all these guys, hell, even Cortez Kennedy, believe it or not, with his soft soul.
Tez, baby, Tez.
Oh, man, was he really great. But who's the one guy that you really like that's going into the Hall of Fame that you really had a passion for when you guys were voting?
Patrick Willis was the guy.
Patrick Willis. Why Patrick Willis?
Because he was such a shooting star, and I think that he was robbed of a chance because of injury of being that. If you're going to say the greatest inside linebackers of all time, you're obviously going Butkus.
Lewis and Butkus.
Patrick Willis, if not for the injuries, I think that's to be the third guy in that conversation.
Wow. Over
like, I'm a big, he was on that track. I mean, as it was, like we had Zach Thomas and Patrick Willis on the ballot at the same time for a couple of years, right? And I'm a big Zach Thomas guy. And Zach was a better player because he had a complete career, right? Like he did it for a longer period of time at an extraordinarily high level. Not quite Ray Lewis level, but, just a step underneath that. Patrick Willis, to me, played at an extraordinarily high level for a short period of time that, if it had been longer, would have ranked with a guy like Ray Lewis.
You
He
took
was
him
that.
above
He was
you.
that
You
guy.
would take him above Urlacher and Lambert and Singletary.
Yeah, I think Singletary's a. I'll be honest with you. I think Mike Singletary, hell of a football player and deserving Hall of Famer, but a tad bit overrated. A little bit of a creation of the guys around him, in my view. Urlacher, pretty unique athlete, and I don't know that I call Urlacher a true middle linebacker.
I never thought he was a Hall of Famer.
I thought he was a Hall of Famer. I didn't have too much doubt about that. I think he was a difference maker on teams that were offensively challenged. I loved the way Urlacher played. But I mean, I'm not. But he's not in that class. I agree with that, and I don't think he was necessarily a middle linebacker. I think he was an athlete who they said, okay, let's put him in the middle of the field because that gives him the greatest opportunity to impact the game. And kind of a rover. So he is not your classic middle linebacker who's coming up and destroying people. Zach wasn't that kind of guy, but Ray Lewis was. Butkus certainly was. I mean, Butkus was a mountain of a man. I mean, he was like 6'4", 6'5", playing at a time when guys were much smaller players.
And very athletic.
Wilson,
People forget he was a center linebacker for years in college, and when he did kind of the Bednarik kind of deal where, they were two-way players back then. And when he got to the NFL, they put him at middle linebacker. But, Butkus's feet, he's not the fastest guy, but he's the most nimble guy. And his feet in the middle. And I'll say this about Patrick, same thing, man. No false steps, hit the hole, gaps, could cover tight ends, could cover backs. And to your point, Jason, of all the linebackers, if you really look, and maybe because his name's Patrick Willis, and if you put Lewis on it and put the Raven gear on him, it might look the same.
I really do believe that. But it isn't, and he isn't in that class because the career was not long enough. But he's a Hall of Famer, and I got really behind him. And I will say one last really classy thing about Patrick Willis. Actually, two things. Number one, that commercial where he goes, flap them chicken wings is one of the most hysterical commercials by an NFL player ever. It just makes me crack up every single time. But the other one is that when we were having this argument between him and Zach, I know Matt Mayoko, who's the Hall of Fame rep for San Francisco, the 49ers, went to Patrick and said, Patrick, we've got, how do we differentiate you from Zach? And he goes, Zach? He goes, Zach deserves to go in before me. And he said that, and Matt was like, "Can I say that at the meeting?" And Patrick went, "Yeah, that's what I believe."
Huh?
So he's classic. Like there's most guys are like,
that's why you vote him in.
Well, it's like, you're trying to help decide the argument here. Like, who do we just? And when a guy at the same position says, "No, that guy's better than me,"
but Willis is better than Zach Thomas.
But he didn't play long enough. He's a better pure player. When you're rating who should be drafted in the first round, absolutely, Patrick Willis is the higher draft pick. But one played for a short period of time, basically, 5-6 years of full health. I know he technically played 8 years, but really just 5 or 6 years. And the other one had a 14-year career. Like that's hard to over. That's hard when you just have such a volume of work on Zach Thomas's part. But I agree with you as a pure athlete, yes.
How do you look at London Fletcher's career?
He's just a step below. I mean, he's in that sort of Jesse Tuggle category.
Chris Hamburger kind of guy, like that kind of dude.
Hamburger made the Hall of Fame eventually. I was
Is it a veterans committee thing? Because I never thought he was.
Hamburger made it on the veteron on the senior committee. I was not.
That's
I was before I was part of it. Yeah, this is where I have a problem with the veterans committee and the senior process. Like I never thought Hamburger was that.
My problem is, Jason, with that is that the guys at the time didn't think he was. Now look, I know racism lived. Certain guys were not put in because of that, so you have to justify that.
Yeah, but Hamburger wasn't a victim of that.
But he was not a victim of that. And the guys of that era, in a team that was revered when it was the Skins in Washington, D.C., with all the publicity and the owner himself that was at that time, Kent Cook. I mean, dude, they didn't think he was. And then to give him a hall pass back in, and he backs in. Look, I don't want to say anything negative about a guy who wears one of those jackets, but I sometimes think those guys walk in the back door when they get on that committee.
I have stated
with
this
you.
during the meetings. I'm stated it during the meetings. I'm not big on the senior process.
Yeah.
It has to be a very, very special case.
Yeah, I you have to come to me and tell me, like, when they justified the Giant guy who was the African American coach and how you missed that. That's different. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. And racism was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe even to this day. Still, you have to always justify that. And that's got to be part of the process too. So let me ask you something here about the 25 class and the first year guys. I wrote 5 guys down here.
Okay.
And before I get to the obvious one, let me throw this one here at you. Adam Vinatieri. Kicker.
Yeah, I know. I think he's a Hall of Famer. A lot will depend on who else is on the ballot.
Would you agree that he's got 5?
He has 5 rings.
He's got more than Stenerud. I mean,
yeah. I mean, look, but he's
all-time leading scorer.
He's also part of some mythic moments like that. The
Rams Super Bowl when the Patriots beat him.
The Rams Super Bowl, the Carolina one, he hit some big ones. I call it the snowball game, but it's really the tuck game. But I call it a snowball because sitting in the old press box at Foxborough Stadium or Schaefer or whatever you want to call it at the time, it was like watching a game being played in a snow globe. Like that, the snow is just relentless the entire game, right? It's like you shook up the snow globe and it just keeps falling and falling and falling all game long. And he hit some amazing kicks. Now, I will also say that who's the kicker? The left-footed kid from the Raiders.
Sebastian Janikowski.
Janikowski. Janikowski was even more impressive, but like I think he felt like he was back in Poland kicking in a game back home, right, when he was a kid, right? And he's just a massive man. He was incredible. But Vinatieri made some of the most amazing kicks in that game to propel them to their first Super Bowl, made the kicks in the Super Bowl. This has a number of huge kicks. He is the rare kicker who is so elevated that, yes, I think he's a Hall of Famer. But I always say we have a limit of 5 guys that we can get in the modern era. So it sort of matters who else is in the group. Like, are there guys who are more regular on-field players who are more deserving?
Yeah, I'm not putting Adam Vinatieri, and I'm biased, obviously, in this over Reggie Wayne. I'm not doing or Torrey Holt.
You can't do that. You can't.
Or Torrey Holt.
Right. Like you just can't do that. I mean, not in my view. Some people may disagree, but that's fine.
Terrell Suggs.
I got to take a really good look at the numbers before I make a decision, but I mean, part of the one most consistent and dominant defenses in the history of the game, right? Difference maker, big, huge difference maker, Super Bowl winner. Not the prettiest human being in the world.
Do you sometimes, Jason, when you're looking at certain guys,
but neither am I. Neither am I. Just saying.
Got it. When you see a guy like Lambert, he's a product of Joe Green in front of him, and Elsie Greenwood in that great defensive front. And on the other side you got Ham, and you also have Andy Russell.
And with Jack Lambert came in as a rookie and played and was a actor right from the start. Okay?
He was a force.
Lambert was a perfect fit in what they were doing, and obviously, right in front, behind that defensive line, yes, he feasted. Okay, no question about it. But he did everything humanly possible behind that. that you could do. Like he came in, he replaced Henry Davis, an established veteran linebacker, on that Steelers team again as a rookie, and they won the Super Bowl. They started their run. So Lambert to me is one of those key cogs who takes the Steelers to the next level.
Is Joe Green the greatest Steeler?
Oh yeah. Everything begins and ends with Joe Green. And Chuck Noll said that at the time when they drafted him.
The greatest.
When they drafted him in '69, like it was everything that they did. Insane. He established everything that was the signature of what they did going forward.
Just insane how great he was.
Yeah.
Luke Kuechly. Isn't he a Zach Thomas type dude?
Bigger guy, better athlete. More like probably a better version of Urlacher. I would say. I think that's fair to say. I can't remember exactly how long.
I think he went to the Super Bowl with that team, that Cam team.
Yeah, the one thing the one thing you always think about with guys like this is, again, and I can't remember how long Kuechly's career was. It 9-10 years. I know he missed some time in there.
Concussions.
Yeah, I mean, legitimate reasons why. And I'm not, but you always have to sort of measure like what is the totality of the career, and I haven't looked that kind of stuff up yet. But when you just think about eye test, yeah, he passes the eye test.
Marshawn Lynch.
I was thinking about this because I saw Marshawn on the list.
I was like, that guy was so underrated as a player, and when he left Seattle, Russell Wilson was never the same. That offense was
right, but also I always argue this. Go look at the numbers. Marshawn wasn't the same guy before Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson wasn't the same guy after Marshawn. They're a perfect coupling of players because Russell Wilson's ability to attack the edge out of that offensive formation allows Marshawn that quarter second, right, that we always talk about, to get on top of a defense. And with his combination of strength and speed, like it's a perfect marriage. And this is why I think, like, we go back to Derrick Henry. We had that conversation, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago about why we think Derrick Henry is going to have such a big year. I think Derrick Henry is going to be massive this year because he's got a quarterback that the defense has to respect. The defense has to wait just that little tiny bit to make sure they know which guys.
And you got to screw your cleats into the turf, because if you don't, the guy's going to run your face over. So, I mean, there's a whole lot to worry about.
Right, and Marshawn,
that guy's the most imposing runner since Campbell.
Right, and Marshawn is right there. Like,
yeah,
Marshawn
he is.
You have to screw your cleats in, but you better get them unscrewed real fast if the quarterback doesn't hand the ball off. Right, like
that's right, Jason. I never thought about that, but Marshawn Lynch had the same style of running when he tried running you over like Campbell did. And if the modern day young guys want to know what Campbell looked like, Marshawn looked like Earl Campbell. Campbell maybe with a little bit more speed up the perimeter for as big as he was. He's a 250-pound guy who could move, and Marshawn's about 250 and can move and would run you over. They're very comparable in how they ran.
And liked running you over.
Yeah, and you know what? Teammates loved having him on the team. I thought he was a tremendous character. I mean, you think he's a borderline kind of guy? I mean, he may not have
I think Marshawn's a Hall of Famer. But again, like, how are the arguments going to go? Because we got a lot of running backs with some big numbers. You got Fred Taylor up there. You've got
like, how do you look at beast mode, and how do you look at Marshawn Lynch and then turn around and go, well, Frank Gore's third all time, and you go, yeah, but Marshawn's better than that. But Frank's got more rushing yards than Walter Payton. I mean, more rushing yards than OJ and Eric Dickerson. He's third all time.
Like, to me, Frank Gore is Don Sutton. If you're to
he's
compare Don Sutton.
Sutton's a Hall of Famer, though.
Right. So I think Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Famer as a compiler. Like when I'm a Dodgers fan, I know Don Sutton's career. I know what he did. He was never electric. He was never a guy who was going to strike out 16.
You're right.
He was never a guy who was going to win 25 games. He was never going to lead the league. And, I mean, he might have led the league in the ERA, but he wasn't going to be like he was a mile better than everybody else, like, say, a Greg Maddux or a Pedro Martinez, right? Like, he just wasn't that guy. But Don Sutton took the ball every fifth day, year after year after year for 24 years and won 324 games, if I remember correctly.
Totally.
And so Frank Gore was the guy who's going to take the ball and he's going to run it 18, 20, 24 times a game, every game, and he was going to get you productive yards, and he was going to be there for you. He was going to be a complete pro, and he was probably going to be a little bit of a maniac about it too. Like my favorite story is about him telling his agent, "Oh, I got to train for the Pro Bowl." Like, Frank, it's the Pro Bowl. Like, stop yourself, Frank. Stop yourself, okay? Just stop yourself. You don't have to train for the Pro Bowl.
Jason, I have a dear friend of mine that wants to ask you this question, and I told him that I would ask him for it. Here's a man that was the NFL Rookie of the Year, NFL Player of the Year, was a Super Bowl MVP, led the NFL in rushing 2 years in a row his first 2 seasons. He's over 10,000 yards rushing, 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's got his number retired by this team, and his name is Otis Anderson. How come O.J. Anderson? I mean, he may not have the huge numbers, but the metrics, Rookie of the Year, Super Bowl MVP, Player of the Year, led the NFL in rushing, 2-time Super Bowl champion.
What school did you go to?
No, I know. I got it. I'm Frank Gore to O.J. Anderson. Subliminally, I got to realize what we're doing here. Okay, I got to realize what I'm doing here. You're right. Okay, because then someone's going to go, like right here, all right, Sills, how about Eddie George? You want to throw that in there too?
Right.
So, I mean, you could put Eddie George. Is that the toughest position for you guys to evaluate for the Hall of Fame as running back?
Yep. Brutal.
Wow.
Brutal. Well, I'd say it's a really big tie with wide receiver right now, especially when you put, like, we had Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, and Andre Johnson on the ballot the last 2 years. Like sort it out. Tell me who's the best. And I've heard every argument. Like, Andre was the best pure talent and didn't play with the best guy. I get it. But if you line up their stats, like, the stats are just the same, and the accomplishments are the same, and the winning. Andre didn't win like the other two guys, but he did so many other things to overwhelm it. But they were the same guy, and we finally got to the point where, okay, we put Andre in this last year. We hopefully get to either Holt or Wayne this year, and then get the next one the next time. It's the same thing we had with the offensive linemen a few years ago when we had like Mawai and Hutchinson and Faneca and Baselli out there. We just had a hard time picking them out. The running backs are kind of the same thing, because again, you tell me Marshawn Lynch, you tell me O.J. Anderson. Hey, go look up Ernest Biner's career.
Even the guy Corey Dillon's numbers, I looked them up. They're 12,000 rushing. Yeah. I didn't know he had that many yards rushing, man. I mean, he put a hell of a career up.
Yeah, I'll just answer your O.J. Anderson question. O.J. Anderson's career is unfortunately played for a crappy team early on.
Arizona,
St. Louis Cardinals. What?
St. Louis Cardinals.
St. Louis Cardinals. And remember, it's the Cardinals, not the St. Louis Rams. Okay. And there's a big difference. Okay. So St. Louis Cardinals, basically lost years with nobody paying attention, right?
No one.
And then he has a renaissance of his career at the end with the Giants and playing some hard-nosed football. But it's not the pretty O.J. Anderson.
No, they thought O.J. was just going to be a red zone back. And if you remember, right, Joe Morris and Mega got hurt. That's the only reason he got in. Okay, it was because that's when they needed a guy, because they got in, they brought him over, and Parcells brought him in because he was going to be a red zone. O.J. told me this. He goes, all of a sudden, man, postseason came. I just caught fire, and I got that MVP in the Super Bowl against the Broncos. And you're like, I came back, I gained $1,000. I kind of got it going again. But then, new coach came in there, Ray Handley and all that. And you're like, kind of go through the gaps a little bit. Like you said, there's so many guys at that position that Eddie George. Let me get to the
right. And this is where I got to say, this is where the argument comes back on me, where I don't like the senior committee. But then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, there are some guys. There got some guys who deserve some full vetting, and we've never had O.J. Anderson in the room to discuss him, and that disappoints me. So
here's a question for both of us here. You think thanks, VJ, that Saquon gets over 1,500 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns this year rushing?
Oh yeah. Oh
wow. You're that high on him, huh?
I love Saquon with weapons, man. And say what you want about Jalen Hurts at quarterback, but if you're talking about him or the kid, or Jones, who would you rather have, Daniel Jones or Jalen Hurts lined up next year?
Daniel Jones is he's sucking out loud, they say right now in camp. Like, I mean, it's only been 5 days and people hate him already.
Yeah, I get that. I'll also say this. I went out to the 49ers camp the other day and I watched Brock Purdy. And they've got the Allen kid behind him and Dobbs, and like those guys are okay. But the one thing I love about Brock Purdy, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's throwing interceptions. He's throwing interceptions." It's like, yeah, because he's challenging the defense. He's throwing balls he's throwing the tight window balls to say, "Can I complete this? Is the receiver going to get there? Can I do this?" Again, especially against a really good defense that I know can move. And you'd rather have them make those mistakes during training camp. So when I hear a quarterback doesn't look good in training camp, I do take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But Daniel Jones ain't that guy.
Last year, they were saying the same shit about Dak, and he led the NFL in touchdowns and also had only 9 picks. So I wouldn't go psycho on that whole thing. Purdy's a system quarterback. Who's not? All right, now I'm going to ask you the tough one here.
Purdy, I'll say this. Purdy, I will say this about Purdy. Purdy has a unique set of skills in anticipation and double plus accuracy in anticipation that are unlike so many guys, but he's a small guy. So if you don't have supporting cast for him to get the ball out to, or you don't have Trent Williams to create a pocket and keep it clean, yeah, he's going to get overwhelmed. He's not a big man. He's, I look eye to eye to him, and I'm 5'11", man. So I know he's barely 6 feet tall. He's not 6'2".
No way. All right. Here it is. You and I have been talking about this for 3 years, actually, and it's right around the corner in a few months. Right? Eli Manning.
Same argument I had before. Same argument I had before.
I'm going to tell you here what I'd say. Here's the quarterback.
He is a Hall of Fame player.
Come on, man.
Eventually. But I just can't, and Peyton's going to be all over me on this one too. But I just can't do I just don't think I can do first ballot. I just don't. And I know that there shouldn't be a distinguishment, and maybe the crew won't be all that great. But at the end of the day, if you say that a guy is going to get drafted number 1 overall and he's going to play for 15, 17 or whatever it was, right? And he wins 2 Super Bowls and he plays full time for you and he makes you a contender for so long, he lived up to his end of the bargain. And doing that in New York and doing that in New York, you know how many quarterbacks. There ain't a lot of guys who've handled that. Like Richard Todd did not handle being a quarterback in New York. Daniel Jones does not handle being a quarterback in New York.
So Eli's better than Dan Fouts because he won 2 Super Bowls.
I don't know if he's better. He's in the Hall of Fame, right? He's I don't want to get into that. Dan Fouts is one of the greatest pure passers of all time, right?
That's like saying that, Eli's better than Dan Marino then, because he's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
But Dan was the first ballot guy. And then when
Oh, wait a minute.
wasn't
So this guy's not a first ballot guy. He's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs beating TB12.
all I'm saying is he did enough to get himself into the Hall of Fame. I think he did. Now, is that going to be on the first ballot or not? That's going to be a hell of a debate. But he did enough to. I think he did enough to get himself into the Hall of Fame, and I'm leaning that way. But I always come back to my argument about like there's a lot of his career that is spent. And I said this to you before. I say it to you again, and I've said it to a lot of other people. I admire Eli Manning for a lot of things, but there were a lot of days that he would play in games, and you thought, did he just wake up from a mega kegger at the frat the night before?
Do you think he was a top 5 quarterback in his era?
Well, his era.
I don't.
Loaded. No, his era is loaded.
Okay.
That's not really
Even
fair.
Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls during the Brady era at Pittsburgh. I mean,
I understand, but that era, like that 20-year stretch from basically 2000 to 2020 is the deepest, most loaded era for quarterbacking ever, with rules that favored quarterbacks unlike ever before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, which is why Brady's got what? I don't even know what the number is, 70,000 yards. Like, because
70,000 yards passing.
Right. I was covering it when Marino's there, and like you're getting to 35,000 yards, and you think that's a big number, and then the number just doubles in a 20-year period of time, right? And so it just gets crazy. But you're talking about in that era, you've got the Favre era, you've got Rodgers coming in, you got Peyton, you got Eli, you've got Brady, you have Roethlisberger, you have Rivers, you have Breeze, you have who else am I leaving out? There's a bunch of guys. I know there's probably 2 or 3 others that I'm leaving out.
Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl.
Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl, not as Hall of Famer.
This was comeback player of the year.
Yeah, but not a Hall of Famer.
No,
but not even close. But like, there's 7, 8 guys in that era who are going to make the Hall of Fame. Donovan McNabb, who was on a path to being
to your point, though, it's so loaded to the bottom that if you put some of those quarterbacks that were at the bottom end in their prime in today's NFL with the rules, they'd be throwing for 5,000 yards, 5,500 yards too today.
Yeah, just like if you put Marino in today's game, right?
Oh, God.
Right, or if you put Elway in an offense, like if you put John Elway in the Kansas City offense.
Or no, put him in the Philly offense. You wouldn't lose a game for years.
Right, like those guys, those guys would produce at a level. And I just
Jason,
go back to
you
like
had
the 70s.
to be on the field to see him, and the power. I played against him up in Denver, and he used to make. You know how he made fun of me? He used to have the greatest hard count. I'm fucking jumping off sides 3-4 times. Everyone starts laughing. I'm in Dallas at the time. And he looks up at me. He goes, I've done it 3 times to you, man. When are we going to stop this here? Do you want me to do it one more time? Everyone just starts laughing. And I mean, his legs were this. I mean, he looked like a running back, but his arm was so, man, what a football player, man. I mean, when God came down and made a player, he left his hand on his shoulder just a little extra longer than anything I've ever seen. The only guy I compare that to is like Josh Allen. Is that kind of physical, imposing kind of guy?
Yeah.
John Elway was special.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some guys, but like if you go back to the 70s, like the 70s has only got 2 or 3 guys who are worth because and
all back Bradshaw, Stabler.
Yeah. And okay, Jim Hart was a really nice player, but
I guess
he was. I watched him play. He was a good player, but you know what I'm saying? It's like that ain't Hall of Fame. But if you go into the 2000 from 2000 to 2020, I mean, holy moly, man! It's just loaded with guys.
2 last questions for you. Since we're having a fun time here, I'm not going to go into some of the questions. We'll do that next couple of weeks here. But Mahomes or Brady, if you had to win one game, who are you taking?
Oh, Brady. He did it. Yeah. He did.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I do. I do that. I mean, I'll say this though: I reserve the right to change my mind in 5 or 6 years.
Okay, so we're getting into the position
I as Edwin Pope once said to me, he goes, you can always change your mind.
Hey, that's an absolutely awesome. And Xander says perfect answer by Jason. Yeah, I have the right to modify that, and I get a right to have a mulligan on that one. So because I look at it like this the same way. You're looking at it and you're like, man, I don't, I'm starting to do this one game. That guy does so much more.
It's a beast.
He is
the modern Elway in terms of the athletic ability to move around, throw on the run, wing it anywhere on the field. I mean, he may not have exactly the same power in his arm, like throwing an out, but he can throw it anywhere on the field, right? And he can be on the dead run to his right and basically flip it all the way across the field. So and I talk about this in the Elway book, Elway once threw a ball 80 yards across the field. When I saw him in college, it went 86 yards because he threw it from the right sideline out of bounds, at the other side of the field. Mahomes can do all that stuff. He's amazing, and he can move. So, from a physical talent perspective, yeah, he's better than Brady. But come on, man, Brady, he did it.
I know.
He did it.
Hard to argue. Last one here. If you had to have one coach on the sideline, would it be Andy Reid or Bill Belichick?
Belichick, because Andy, look, people make a lot. I love Andy Reid. I think he's a genius, and I think he's one of the greatest 5 or 6 coaches of all time. But he wasted a lot of opportunities in Philly because he was hard-headed. He didn't, game management was not his thing. I think he left a championship or 2 on the table.
So if people use that metric against Belichick that he had Brady, they're going to use that same metric like you just said. Well, look what you did in Philly with not having someone at the level of Brady, and now you got. But
he had Donovan McNabb.
No, I think he should have won more with Donovan. I'm talking. They went to 5 NFC title games, and I get it. Yeah. But you should have pushed through one of them.
At least, there's just and I know we can argue through all the circumstances and everything, but the circumstances are what they are, right? That's what Belichick made it happen. Belichick is arguably the greatest coach in the history of the game, up there with Lombardi and Paul Brown, who guys who dominated their leagues winning wise and also changed the game in significant ways. Whereas I think Reid is close, but and I also go, Joe Gibbs, because you were able to win with multiple quarterbacks. I'm big on that one too.
I don't think Andy Reid is in Bill Walsh's league.
Not quite.
Product.
But I will say this.
Bill Walsh.
He took everything that Bill Walsh taught. Not that he ever worked for him, but he obviously is.
Yeah, Holmgren did, and Holmgren passed it on to Andy.
Right. But he took everything that Walsh did and perfected it on a week in and week out basis. I just would say from a game management standpoint, Belichick was a better game manager. Just like a guy Jimmy Johnson is vastly underrated as a guy who understood how to manage a game and knew this is the time when I gamble and this is the time when I don't. And this is the time when I have to take a shot and this is when I don't, which is partly, I got to know my circumstances, all those, who am I playing? Where am I playing them? How am I playing them? All those kinds of things. Jimmy was a genius at that. And I think Belichick is very much in Jimmy's category, not only as a game manager, but also in a greater sense about how do you build the foundation of a winning team. And yeah, he had to have Brady. I know that. He never won without Brady. Fine. But he did make it work with Brady, and they met everything they could do.
Hey, finally here, one of our guys wants to know, who is your favorite coach that's ever coached in the NFL?
Favorite's tough. Like on a personal level, I mean, it's
Yeah.
Andy Reid. Andy Reid. I mean, Andy's a
Really?
dude. Andy's a dude. And I have fun with Andy Reid. Like you can, and he will text you back, and he'll get, he'll say, he'll ask how you're doing. He actually cares about you as a human being and stuff like he's a good dude, right? And I'm not saying like he's a perfect human. Don't get me wrong. Like every one of them has their
I like him
odds.
too.
And Tony Dungy's a really classy
Oh,
human being,
God.
right? It's just just an incredibly nice man. So as human beings, I like them. But if you're talking about like, if I was coaching in a game and I was looking across the way, like who would I be like worried about going up against? It would be Belichick. Like I would be going, what's that guy thinking about what I did? What does he know about me that I don't know about myself? And that's where like the thinking gets a little, you drive yourself a little crazy. And we've had poker games or whatever game you play, you've always had that against who you're playing. Like, what does that guy know about me that I don't know about myself? Who he's out thinking me on the field, and Belichick is that guy.
Let me end this with you say Belichick. Maybe you'll agree or disagree, but if I had to pick one guy to run my franchise, and I saw what he did with a franchise that was the worst franchise in NFL history, and when they hired him January 17th of 1969, and they had him organized along with the Rooneys, and they put Noel in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he arguably built the greatest teams of all time, those 4 and 6. All those Hall of Famers, that 74 draft, the front office was insane. I mean, Noel was kind of that CEO guy. He had great coordinators, great assistant coaches. The league was different. I get it. Nobody could move. You were kind of pigeoned to the team that you were drafted, but damn, they never missed on picks, man. And the guys that they had, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th, and 7th, and 8th, and 9th, and 10th round guys were Hall of Fame dudes. I mean, you could theoretically, Jason, put that entire Steeler 22 in the Super Bowl and then into the Hall of Fame.
I will, but I'll also throw this one at you. Paul Brown, when he comes into the NFL, right, after winning the AAFC for 3 straight years, and like Greasy Neal, the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles at the time, he goes, oh, yeah, well, we'll see how they do when they play in a real league. And they come in, they win the championship. And then Greasy Neal like pops off about how, yeah, well, they played that fancy passing game. And the next time they came to Philadelphia, he ran on all but 2 plays and they beat the Eagles. Like, Paul Brown's a wicked human being when it came to running a team, operating a team, and elevating the professionalism and thinking man's part.
Well, he created the game plan, film
right.
study.
He did some amazing stuff like that. That's why, we have this discussion, and yeah, you can pick your favorite, and we can figure out which one's your favorite. And there's nothing wrong with Noel being your favorite coach. Like that's, and same kind of thing with quarterbacks. You can name your 5 or 6 favorite, and I'm like, take your guy, I'll take my guy, and I'll believe in him. They all bring something really incredibly unique to the game, and I love that about those guys, and I love that about Belichick.
I can't end it without doing this. That 3 Super Bowls in a row with Shula that had one undefeated team, or those Steeler teams that won 4 and 6. If you had to pick the
Steelers were the better team over time.
Even with the undefeated, I mean, think about it. Jason, they had 3 straight Super Bowls, and they had an undefeated team in that process.
There's something about the Steelers that is just.
I know, man. I'm with you.
They
were dominant. Even the years they didn't make the Super Bowl, they killed. The one year that they didn't make it, I think 75 or 76. I think they had
like 6
shutouts. Something like that, and they didn't win the Super Bowl that year because Jarrella got hurt in Denver, and they got beat because they didn't have like their field goal kicker or some shit up there, and they had like 5 shutouts that year, and they didn't win the Super Bowl.
The Steelers literally, and the Dolphins do this too. That era completely changes football, and I'll leave you with this story. Right, that Gil Brandt, rest in peace, Gil Brandt told me
Love Gil.
about Tex Schramm. So it's like the first week of, I think, the 76 or the 77, whatever it is, 75, 76, one of those seasons, right? And Gil walks into Tex Schramm's office. Tex has the newspaper in front of him. He's reading the scores. And like, there's 26 teams, there's 13 games, there was 12 games because there was a Monday night game. And like 8 out of the 12 games featured teams having less than 10 points. So not only did think about it this way, not only did you go to a game where your team probably lost, they also did the score. So it was boring as hell, right? And Tex Schramm takes that, and this is the middle of that whole Dolphins, Steelers, Vikings, like
Raiders,
rounded out defense, all that. And Tex Schramm takes a paper and he throws it at Gil and goes, "Who's gonna watch this shit?" And so Tex Schramm, over the next like 2 years, they changed the blocking rules. They changed the chuck rules. They moved they moved the hash marks. They changed everything and said, "God damn it, nobody's going to watch this crap." And he was right. He was absolutely right.
I was so privileged to play there for Coach Landry and Tex and Gil the final month of the 2 months of the season, 3 months. The last year in '88, and then when we rolled around in '89, they fired him. But I was there in the last month and a half of the final season injury. And guys, I mean, they walk into a room, you're like, there's NFL history all right there. And every time they came in there, you knew that they were centerpieces. And you know what? Hey, you know what Tex said? He goes like this: "Hey, you see those little flags on top of the goalpost?" I go, "Yeah."
I invented those. I invented those.
He goes, "I did that." I'm like,
and he did.
What do you mean? He crawled up there and he goes, No. When you go to every stadium, I did that. I go, "Tex, get the fuck out of here." He goes, "No, I did that. That's my idea."
You know the other one? The other one he did? The arrows on the field pointing which direction is the end zone.
Yeah.
That's his too. He invented that too. It's
Yeah,
like,
but he
on
went,
TV.
"That's mine. I did that." I'm like, "You did not do that." He goes, "Those were my flags. I did that."
Exactly. He did. Like texture. People don't understand. Like, I mean, and some of it is a product of the time you were in. You happen to be a smart guy at the right time. But that guy was damn smart. He did things that made the game so much easier to watch and made it what it is, made it what it is today that much faster. But he was also the guy who's looked and understood nobody's scoring any points. This crap is boring. Like he could get not there was no technical stuff to it. There wasn't a big long discussion or anything. It was just like, this is boring. Get it done.
So you had Tex Schramm, Al Davis, and all them guys in the league at that time, plus the commissioner, Pete Rozelle. I mean, God forbid. No wonder the NFL poured that cement into what it is right now. And again, it should be a great moment tonight. Hall of Famers roll out on the field tonight there at Benson Stadium. Inductions. Jason had a lot to do with that too, by the way, with his crew on Saturday. I can't wait to see my Kane guys go in, 2 of them. Jace, awesome stuff. Thank you so much. Next week is exhibition football. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Be good.
You got it. The great Jason Cole, Hall of Fame voter. VJ, I know you sent a lot of super chats. Xander, I want to come back out of the timeout, and I want to make sure that we get to his because he posted some really good stuff. VJ, I don't really post them up there again for the guests, but maybe I should. I think maybe you get kind of maybe giving me an idea there. So, but again, we'll put your super chats up. I know you put a lot of them up, so I don't want you to feel neglected there because we really appreciate it. Guys, before we go to timeout, by the way, I'm going to go camping. We're going to take a look at the Packers, 49ers, and the Lions. These are the threats to the Eagles. Don't forget, practices tonight at Lincoln Financial. We're going to kind of roll you right into that. Where are we in the like list right now, guys? Where are we on the like list? We're probably going to have about 45 minutes left. Let's see if we can try to get this bad puppy all the way to potentially 300. I'd love to see us get there. Where are we right now? We're 188. A little tough on the 300. Let's get it over 200 here. So, yeah, let's we're 12 away. Let's get over 250. Let's try to roll into that one there. So, 189, Kyle, hit the like button. All of you, thank you very much. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Trying to get to around 250 likes if we could. Be great. Guys, we're just shy of 200 now. Please hit that like button. So Wirfs just got a great deal. 140 million, 0.6 extension from the Buccaneers. He's 25 years old. His annual salary is going to be 28.1. Now, they did pick up the 50-year option, which means it's 18.2. It's a 5-year contract. I think it is. Yeah, it's a 5-year contract. Makes him the highest paid O-lineman in pro football. $28.1 million in your 25 years of age. That's a pretty damn good-looking football player down there. Buccaneers have a great staple in that offensive line. Todd Bowles thinks he's got a Super Bowl team. I'm not sure that Baker Mayfield's a Super Bowl quarterback, but they got a pretty good-looking football team. O-line's not horrible. They need to get a little more in the run game. Vita Vea is key to that success. Their linebacking core is outstanding. Their secondary, when Antonio Winfield, back in their secondary, he's another 25-year-old guy. He's a great-looking football player. That's a pretty good team. Jason Light has done a really nice job at building that football team. All right, guys, please like button, trying to get to around 250 likes today. We so appreciate it. Tonight, obviously, over at Lincoln Financial, they're going to have, I'm going to call it fan night. And I think it's pretty cool that you get an opportunity to go out there and experience something that maybe you don't get a chance to because the prices are so expensive during the regular season. You know, I said this before. Think about it. If you go to an NFL game and you go to a family of 4 and you get just normal tickets that you want to have decent tickets, you're talking anywhere between $250 to $300 a ticket. Let's just say $300. Okay, there's $1,200 right there for a family of 4, right? $1,200. What's parking? $100. That's $1,300. Food, another $150. That's $1,450. Buy a little banner and a program for Bob and Sue. What, another $100? You're talking $1,500 just for a weekend of 4 for you to be able to go out there and have yourself a decent time and sit in decent seats. Not talking about premium seats, not the 350s. $1,500. People don't have that kind of disposable income. So when you get a chance to pay only $10 to go out there to a game like this, I think it's a good experience because it'll give you more of an understanding of what the players see and what people see in the stands. I like this kind of stuff. Again, it's practice. Well, so what? Exhibition football? You're never going to sell me on that. Always ask yourself this about exhibition football. Why would I pay full prices for exhibition football when you give me 20% of the product? Okay, why would I do that? I go to a football game against the Ravens, right? And I'm going to pay full ticket prices? No way. For 20% of the product? Where in America can you do that? Where you're not going to get the best, but I'm paying full price. Only place you get to do that is in the NFL. You know why? They double dip their fans. I'm not doing that. So something like this tonight is cool. $10. Parking's probably going to gouge you. The food will always gouge you. But at least the ticket prices don't gouge you here. Pay for a regular season game after practice. Again, I'd rather sit. You know what, flexing? Screw that. I'm not paying $350 to go to a football game. Not in your life. I would never do that. I would sit at home in the best seat in the house and watch my football games. Why in the world would I spend $350 to go to a football game? I would never do that. When the best seat in the house is in my own home, when I got my own beer, my own grub, and my own freedom to take a piss. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to piss in a trough for a guy sitting next to me. It's like going on a cruise. Hey, somebody goes like this. Sills, would you ever go on a cruise? Nah, there's a few things Big Sills won't do. I don't go to bars with dudes, and I don't go on cruises. I'm not sitting next to some dude from Wisconsin. Hey, Dan, what do you think of the Parcheesi game? What? Dude, what's your name? And Xander's like, I'd never go on a fucking cruise either. Some guy sitting next to me. This guy's from like Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Hey, excuse me, sir. Do you know what the play is tonight? Play. Eating my lobster. No. So where you from? Yeah, this ain't cutting it. I'm gonna take my food to my room. I'm gonna sit on the shitter and eat my food. I'd rather sit on the shitter than sit in a dining room with some guy sitting next to me asking me how I'm doing. I've never known. That ain't happening. Guy coughing in my food, throwing up in my cereal. Not happening. Hey, Xander, VJ posted some super chats. Let's see if we can rifle through some of these because he did a lot of them, and we didn't get to them when Jason was on. Is Purdy a system quarterback or not? I think Jalen Hurts is a system quarterback. I think most of these quarterbacks today, VJ, I think have tailor-made systems built for their quarterbacks. So to the point of being a system quarterback, Matthew Stafford has a system. Joe Montana had a system. Tom Brady had a system. dink and dunk. Patrick Mahomes has a system. I think they're all in systems, but they're tailored to their skill set. What's another one here, Xander? So to your point, yeah, I think he is. So do you think Purdy can earn a Pro Bowl or Jalen Hurts? Who would you both choose? We'll just do me here. So do you think Purdy can earn a Pro Bowl? He did. Or Jalen Hurts? They both did. Brock Purdy got to the Super Bowl a year ago, and Jalen got the year previous. They both pretty much have the same talent. We're going to talk about the Niners here in a minute, but they do things differently. I think Purdy spreads the ball better. He's more of a functional quarterback that I would want to run my system. He's going to throw to the tight end. He's going to throw to receiver 3, 2, running backs. He's going to spread the ball around. Hurts' inability to spread the ball around for 2 years, actually 3 years, it's been evident in his entire plan. He's not spread the ball around. He's thrown it to 2 dudes. Brock Purdy throws it to everybody. Now, it's play calling. Kyle Shanahan's a better coach. However, they both get the same result. Okay? But Purdy's been on a projection of success 2 years in a row. Question for both. What do you both think of Vic coming to Philadelphia after jail? VJ, you probably are new to this, but I'm the one that broke the story that Michael Vick was signed by the Eagles and Andy Reid. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was the fact, hey, let me ask you this, VJ. Do you think there's any coincidence that Andy Reid signed a punter and Matt Arizam, who was accused of gang rape and was exonerated, and wanted to give him a second chance in life and a second chance of a football life? Do you think there's any coincidence to that? I think Andy Reid is a guy who believes in second chances. I think that has a lot to do with his kids and their unfortunate issues. I think Andy Reid is a guy that gives opportunities. I think that's why players gravitate to him. I mean, I thought it was a wonderful thing that Andy grabbed him, turned him into a Pro Bowl quarterback. You guys miss big hits from back then. Yeah, I completely do. I miss the big hits across the middle. The Vontaze Burficts are no longer allowed to play. I'm not even sure Ray Lewis could play in today's NFL, or Lawrence Taylor, or Reggie. Big hits in today's NFL, they've legislated it away. You know what's funny? Fans want to see the big hits, but the owners don't want to pay for them. VJ, the reason big hits are no longer in the NFL, the owners are afraid of them. They're afraid of big hits. They don't want to be in a courtroom. What's the one thing that could destroy the NFL? Having to admit that they injured players with the helmet. The most destructive thing that the NFL ever did to players was never have proper headgear. The helmets are now way more advanced, but the helmets that they had in this sport were the major reason why you have guys with CTE, guys who put bullets in their brains, guys who eat bullets, drink lighter fluid, guys who die early. Question for both. Does Saquon, he said that one, and he believes Saquon's going to have a big year. And he liked that number of 1,500. I think John McMullen is really with a big overall number too. 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns would be an absolutely insane. It would be insane, VJ. Yeah, okay. It would absolutely be insane. Now, what I'm going to do here, we're going to do a little bit of the Ravens. That's your first, just a little bit of an overall synopsis here. By the way, please hit the like button. Guys, tell me where we are in the like list right now. Saquon jersey giveaway. Every time he has more than 125 yards from scrimmage in a game. Hey, right there, JAKIB right there, baby. Let's put that up there. Check that out. Okay, look at that bad puppy. Oh, you Penn State guys, huh? Look at that. Not bad there, right? All right. So, hey, guys, where are we in the like list? Just give me a little rundown here where we are because I'd like to get to it. We're 210. We're 40 away. Wayne, about 30 minutes away. I think we get to 250. I think that'd be a good day. Let's try to get up there, man. Ravens. That's going to be your first game. This is an overall view synopsis of what you guys do. Tonight is Hall of Fame game. It's Bears and Texans. Lamar Jackson. You know what the great thing about last year was for Lamar? He finished the year. Awful AFC title game. But he finished the year. The ads, Josh Jones, OT. Chris Bournes, Derrick Henry. They've added some players, but shit, they lost a ton. J.K. Dobbins, Clowney, Patrick Queen, Darby, and Geno Stone. Those are huge losses on defense. It's going to be interesting to see how they recover from that on that side of the ball. Plus, they lost a lot of their coaches. Their secondary coach, Denard Wilson, who was a former Eagle coach, is now in Tennessee. A lot of expectations on this football team. It's going to depend on what they do on defense, but Lamar Jackson's a special football player. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they put on the field this year. And we'll get a little look at that probably next week when the Eagles take on the Ravens. But I think there's a lot of expectations. Here's Xander, what he's saying here about, here we go. One jersey per week. Each time he goes over, no generics, whatever jersey they wore in that game is what we give away up to 20 total on the season. So, hey, it's like that movie with The Rock and what was that? The other guys. Remember the guy goes like this? Hey, okay, free hot dogs. Can't do the Cokes. Hey, can't do the Cokes. Can't do the Cokes. If you guys have ever seen that movie, the other guys, hey, free pizza or whatever it was. He goes, can't do Cokes. No, can't do the Cokes. No good. Free pizza. Hey, and rocks like this. Yeah, man, I got you down there, but no Cokes. Cash bar, baby. Remember, cash bar. All right. So here we go. Now, do we not agree? The biggest threat to the Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay, San Francisco, and the Lions, right? So I think the Eagles need two more foundation pieces on defense. They sure do. They sure do. Edge rusher and I think a better safety. Linebacker probably. Because they're going to try to work one of them safeties back there. If it's Cooper DeJean, we'll see. So let me start with the Lions. We're going to go camping here for the next couple minutes here. I like Dan Campbell. They got ramped up practices going on up there. Chris Spielman, I talked to him today. See, always know this. The people that I talk to are people inside the organization. They're friends of mine. And Chris Spielman is part of the front office up there. And I had a conversation with him. Man, they practice fucking hard. He said, Sills, this is old school shit. Aiden Hutchinson says that Dan Campbell every single day wants to get better. He pushes them. He motivates them. And he is in their face. He's out there with them. He's pushing them. He's telling them, hey, we are not going to be denied this year. They got a hunger about them that they want, and they're going after. They said this, never lose the eye of being the hunter. You never want to become the hunted. Kansas City, I think one of the things they do, they keep being the hunters. They don't act like the hunted. They don't give a shit about anything going on around them. They don't care about the players in the building. Well, they do, but they don't care. The economics is not going to derail their process and what they do. Snead wanted $1 billion. They went, that's not working for us. We're here in this box. And we're staying in this box. It's kind of what Detroit's building. If Dan Campbell was our coach, what would you give our chances for the season? If Dan Campbell was your coach, you'd win a Lombardi trophy. Because he is an accountable guy. Brad Holmes and him work together. Nick works for Howie. That's the different dynamic. Brad doesn't work over Dan Campbell. He's not his boss. Howie is Nick's boss. Okay? That's why Nick can't do anything. He's got to behave. Dan Campbell's not accountable to anybody but the owner of the team. I mean, get this. He said this today. Dan Campbell said the 2 days in pads. Do you know what they do? Ones versus ones, two versus twos, and they get after it. It ain't ones versus twos. It's not two versus ones on defense. It is ones versus ones, and they get after it. It would not shock me, Chris said, if the league comes down and the NFL Players Association fines the Lions for excessive contact during training camp. Because when he's out there, even when they're in helmets and shorts, they're going full blast. That is an intense football camp. And the coach is an intense guy. This Lions team should be nervous about. He wants to get better every single play. He'll stop a series and play and go, we didn't get better there. Run it again. They practice game tempo. I love coaches that do this. Game tempo, so it doesn't shock you when you get into September's first week of the season. And you see why teams sometimes get out to slow starts? They didn't practice game tempo. I like what Detroit does. Listen to what Ben Johnson does for his quarterback. This is what he says and how he runs his training camp. He goes like this: it's not my job to run the training camp. It's my quarterback's job to run it. I've never been a believer that I run my quarterback's drills and the camp and what we're doing on 7-7. I may have a game plan of what we're going to try to want to hit on, but I let Jared Goff run it. This is his show. These are his plays. This is his offense. He should know what we need to work on. You think they do that in Philly? I don't want to have to tell my quarterback what to do. You should know what to do. I think that's under Kellen now. But you remember something about the Eagles. They like control. And they like to control the coaches, and they like to control the narrative. You're hearing this guy, Johnson, going like this. Hey, man, I don't run the drills. I don't run the camp. Jared Goff does. It's great. Makes him accountable. Hey, what'd we hit on today? And after practice, Coach Johnson comes to him and goes like this. Do you think we worked on everything today? Kimberly, I believe that Philadelphia are micromanagers. Here's a code right now. And Brian Johnson, who's their offensive coordinator, that just goes like this. Not me, man. I don't run my – Jared Goff runs the camp. He's completely in control. Wants the veterans in the group, even the second and third team guys. Aaron Glenn, constantly talking out there, the defensive coordinator. It's a pretty awesome place. The Lions are ready to roll. Injuries, bad luck could derail it. They got an injury in the secondary already, but or I think it's maybe an edge rusher that they got hurt. Lions look pretty awesome. That'll be one of the formidable teams that the Eagles have to beat. And they're pretty good on both sides of the football. Green Bay Packers. A little bit talking with people that are around Matt LaFleur. It's funny. Everything is strategic in Green Bay when they run their camp. And there is no question that Green Bay has a system on how they do things. Here's another coach that allows his players to run the camps. It's about time the Detroit Lions put some product on the field. Fans and paper bags were not good. And Lamar Jackson is a 17-1 against the NFC teams. True. Xander said something the other day about the Washington Commanders. What was it, Xander, you said about the Commanders not winning a playoff game or having a winning season? Do you know that the Detroit Lions hadn't won a playoff game on the road in like 50 years till last year? And they had only one playoff win in the last 60 years till last year. Just to put things in perspective. So, Jordan Love looks good. Getting better. His progression reading is getting even better in what they're saying. The offense is evolving. They're constantly working on protection. By the way, here's something to think about. Jordan Love is completely in control of the protections in Green Bay. It's all on him. Center doesn't call it. He does. And Matt LaFleur was asked that question, why is it only on the quarterback and not anybody in your O-line? He goes, well, he sees what's coming. Fronts constantly change. Why would you put someone in a position like an offensive lineman with his hand in the dirt once he gets set, where the quarterback is still looking around and can change an audible out or call a timeout? Jordan Love will call the protections completely in Green Bay. I think that gives him more responsibility. And once again, here's a guy that's a better progression reader than Hurts and will have the responsibility more than Hurts on pass protection, which makes it his offense. O-line, they're working combos. Bakhtiari's not there any longer. They're going to have to figure out the right combo when it comes to protection. So one of the weaknesses that I would think in that Green Bay game, in the opener, in September, 36 days from now, I think you want to get internal pressure. I think the Packers, in my opinion, when you hear this, it sounds like musical chairs. Test it. Hit the center. Put Jordan Davis right over that center and have Jalen Carter in that 3 technique. Wind him up and let him run into him. See what happens. See if they can protect him. Okay? See if they can wind him up and run right into him. They've installed some new plays and new screen passes and also more deep passes for Jordan Love. Isn't that funny? The Philadelphia Eagles were installing explosion plays the last 2 years. Matt LaFleur hasn't implemented or installed any deep throws until this year for Jordan Love. Thought it was a different way of developing a quarterback. He wanted the quarterback, Jordan Love, to be able to have more success by having play to make throws to early in his career. Whereas the Eagles asked Jalen to make harder throws earlier in his career. It's an ass backwards way of thinking. What are you doing here? This guy LaFleur can coach. when he said that today, I was like, I never thought of that. He's like, yeah, we're installing deep throws this year. And I'm like, so and the reporter goes, so you didn't have any last year? He goes, no, 15 yards is probably the most that we would have for him. We still want him to be able to read the field and see the field. Most quarterbacks don't see way down the field and keep their eyes down the field because when pressure comes, they lower their heads. He said, now when you watch Jordan and you see he sees deep third now. So we're going to install some deep throws. So you made Jalen Hurts make the harder throws. Why his turnover rate was high last year. And last year, Jordan Love had no deep throws really. Solid. Explosion plays. Josh Jacobs looks great in camp. He's going to be a major part of what they're going to do on flare and screens and also running in between the tackles. Okay. So this young wide receiver course coming along. The one thing about hey, Yale, are you in here, Yale? I wonder if you're still in here. Could somebody do me a favor? Can somebody look back at just shits and giggles? How many wide receivers that the Green Bay Packers have drafted in the last 40 years in the first round? I think it's one. One. Why is that? Well, because for the last 34 years, you've had three quarterbacks take 98% of the snaps in Green Bay. Think about that, Kyle. 2 first-round draft choices in 40 years. They've drafted at wideout. They let their quarterbacks develop receivers in Green Bay. Not vice versa. Let's get wide receivers to help develop my quarterback. It's brilliant. You can't deny the success that Green Bay has had when you have 34 years of quarterbacking in 3 dudes' hands. Shit, there's teams in the NFL that have conveyor belts of quarterback play. I mean, 2 wide receivers in 40 years in Green Bay should tell you all you need to know. We develop quarterbacks in Green Bay. Our quarterbacks develop our wideouts in Green Bay. Here's the last team. 49ers. Kyle Shanahan. Health has been an issue so far first week. Man, a lot of top superstar talent in San Francisco. All pros at every level on both sides of the football. Kyle likes where they are. You want to put a little bit of last year in the Super Bowl bad taste away, but you also want to have a hunger for it. It's an intellectual offense, to say the least, and how they do business. Trent's back, which is always great. They're evolving a little bit at some of the limited places. Ayuk has been great. I think there's going to be a deal. Word is, it looks like you're going to see a deal done here with Ayuk here in the next couple days. I just love the 49ers roster. It's just littered with great players. But here, I'll say this to you. Their window is now this. Used to be this, and it was this at one time. It's now down to here. It's now here. You're almost closing it. I think this is the last year of this. I think this is the last year for that football team. You don't win this year. You're going to start jettisoning guys. Or unless you're going to have to start redoing a lot of people. So, all right. Hit the like button. Where are we in the like list right now, my friends? Barkley will be the best running back in the league. I know, John, just like Saquon, or just like Rashad Penny was. 216, guys, that's a great day. Another great day. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. Appreciate you guys so much. Please hit the like button. So I guess Jalen Hurts talking a little bit prior to tonight's controlled scrimmage or controlled practice is saying that Kellen Moore has come up with a couple ingenious ideas on how to combat the blitz. What's that say to you? He's going to try to help Hurts recognize blitz is better. I thought that was an innate thing that quarterbacks had. Usually you get that from pocket passers because they understand where the blitz is coming from. Now, again, Brady had issues with it. Brady always had issues with internal pressure because that's the hardest thing to combat is having internal pressure. However, Kellen Moore is coming up with a way so that Hurts can recognize it. Hey, certain guys are coached differently. And once again, he's not a pure pocket passer guy. And you have to coach him differently than you do the criteria type quarterbacks. That was my complaint yesterday when we were talking about when you're building a football team that you want to contend year in and year out for a Super Bowl. One of the things you don't do, I mean, the only reason that the Philadelphia Eagles are in a position where they're going to be Super Bowl contenders, it's not the quarterback. It's the fact that Howie Roseman is able to put constructed deals together for the other players on the offense and is able to put those deals together because the owner's been willing to spend the money. If you start having to act like everyone else and jettisoning those players, never happened. But again, some of the things they do better, a lot of the things they do better than a lot of other teams. That's a credit. It's not a rip. It's not a credit. That's why Mahomes is grateful for his internal O-line. That's a great point, Senor. The center and 2 guards are the best part of that football team. I never thought about that, but he's right. The center and 2 guards are the best players in the O-line on that team. And right now the Eagles have nicked up Landon and Tyler Steen's out, and you got a new center. See how that dynamic works. That's one thing to keep an eye on for this. Look, tonight I think it's really cool that the fans get out the Lincoln Financial tonight. We'll talk more about it. Obviously, it's Hall of Fame game tonight. It's Bears and Texans. You'll see some of the Hall of Famers. Guys, great stuff. Xander, Big Joe, we thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow, and we shall see you on the flip side.